I think you've had conversations with him before. Is
Hmm.
like we talk regularly. He was saying that like it will be like a housing crisis kind of thing, but it won't be to the same degree of 2008 because people are earning slightly more in comparison to what the house prices were back then, like going up to it. Yeah, like that might be a limited view because obviously there's only one person collecting certain levels of information. But I was just wondering what you thought about that.
Well, I just want to say real quick that it's nowhere near going to be like 2008. 2008, there was people with zero equity in their homes. There is a lot more equity in the housing market today than in like at least 15% more equity into the homes than there was in 2008, and that's just a guess of a number.
Yeah, the scenarios are different, but the consequences are the same. The oh wait, but fueled by people lending subprimes, and you have an enormous supply of houses. So people were having five houses under their name or probably their dog's name, not necessarily under their name. So that was the issue. In the present case, what we have, it's that we have houses. We don't have houses to sell, so the price has increased because there's no more houses in the market, right? And you need to either increase the amount of houses in the market to correct that extra supply, or what you have to do is practically make those houses available. And how you're gonna make those houses available? Basically, eviction moratorium. People will start getting out of those houses. Probably the banks will go busted. The banks will take the houses because you don't pay your mortgage. So there will be more houses available, and the market will correct that way. I mean, but
Well,
at some
for a few years, we haven't been meeting the supply. We've been falling behind on the supply every year, over and over.
On purpose.
We haven't been meeting the demand.
yeah, no,
On
no, and
purpose.
I yeah,
Hi, sorry. It's a subject I really like. Another thing to factor is that with interest rates are so low, people capped out what they could buy for houses. So when those interest rates go up, a lot of people aren't looking down the road to where they might not be able to keep up
hmm
and make those payments, right? And even though that those are people with good jobs, I personally know friends who like they took the highest amount they could take. While it's not smart, I feel like a lot of
Well,
people did that.
well, what I want to say, Trade, is a lot of people are not on the arm like they were in 2008. That's why it's not the same magnitude. Not a lot of people are on the arm. A lot of people are on a fixed rate because they're
yeah,
putting up the equity. They're
yeah.
It's
coughing up the cash right now. Before
it's
they had no skin in the. Okay.
Right. I mean, I agree with your sentiment now, but looking down the road and where we could head economically, and if you look at the last unemployment, didn't it tick up again, the claims? So, I mean, there's a lot of things that we're balancing that are like hot potatoes. And, from the 2008 credit crunch, and all this debt is interconnected,
yeah.
even overseas.
Uh,
It
It's
just takes
spread
one
out
or
in
two
several different
people.
sectors.
I'm not
Yep.
sure what you said about unemployment, but there's a labor shortage.
Right. So what I'm saying is, and that comes from what? That comes from people having distrust in the government, and this is not all of them, but part of them. Unemployment has showed some people that they can make more money at home, so why would they go back into work? But all of these things intertwined with Evergrande, this corporate bonds. There's just a lot of toxic debt out there, and it just takes one or two margin calls that fail, and we'll
Mhm.
see a chain reaction and a
I am.
spillover. And if
but
that
but
worsens us as an economy, people will start cutting workers. That could lead to more like house deep. It's just a big web of like toxic debt.
and both of you are right. I agree with Mango. Yeah, the conditions are different. I'm not. I don't disagree with you, but there has to be a correction. And what's gonna be the correction? If the market, remember, when you make a mortgage, the ultimate owner of the mortgage is the bank. So if you fail, either you're the landlord or a regular person living in that house, the house will be owned by the bank. So if we have MOASS and all these banks go busted, what are the gonna banks do? They're gonna liquidate whatever they have so they can meet margin, and they will
Well,
and they will take whatever you can offer them for the house. So
this
there will be
this
a correction that way.
true, Francesco, but this gets very complicated. It's not always as black as white as everybody thinks. If they're over leveraged, the last thing they want to do is take on more liabilities. Taking on your home is a liability, 100%, and that's the truth. And that's the last thing they need to do is be flooded with homes.
Yeah,
It
but
has a
there.
I used to work for mortgage and mortgage defaults after the mortgage crisis in '08, and I actually work in real estate now. And when Francisco is saying that it's different, he's right, and Mango, you're right too, and so are you, Trade Tiger. But different is not better, and even though there aren't arm loans, and it is detriment to the banks to take on your property if you default, they're not going to have any choice, because the properties right now, they're all at inflated value, which means that 15%, Mango, that you're talking about, people having equity in their property, it's not really 15% because of how inflated the housing prices are. So when the taxes go up on property taxes, these people who, like Trade Tiger said, took out the maximum amount of loans, that all of those taxes are escrowed into their mortgages. They're not going to be able to make their mortgage payments. They're going to default, and the banks are going to have no choice but to take those properties back as liquidated assets, and they're still sitting on assets from 2008. So it's very different from 2008, but it's not better at all.
And houses aren't liquid unless you sell them to like a wholesaler. It's
Yeah.
not something that's easy to get
So
rid of. You know, it's not
so
like
what I
having
be
gold
so
bars.
and I agree with you totally. So what I believe is gonna happen is that after you have all these evicted people in the market, that it takes like two months. I don't know. I'm not an expert on foreclosures, but on common sense, I would say it takes 2-3 months, whatever the legal process takes. You take these people out, they're gonna be a huge amount of homeless people, no unemployment benefits. How they're gonna meet the monthly payments? So the banks will obviously take the houses, has their collateral, whatever, because houses are collateral whenever you want to see it. So if they are down or on default, right, they're gonna take the house, and you're gonna come and say, look, I have, I don't know, 3,000K, 300K, I'm gonna buy this house, but the house is costing 500K. The bank will take whatever you give them because they need liquidity. So you're gonna correct the market, offering half of the price whatever the house is worth right now. That's the market correction I'm expecting. Because at some point,
Francisco, if they take all these homes in mass, like everybody's saying, like in 2008, they were taking 2 years to foreclose on people. And they sat on them homes on their books for so many years. And if they're as over leveraged as everybody is speculating, that is not good.
yeah,
It's
no.
not, but they are over leveraged. Remember the derivatives report that came out? I think the total amount in derivatives is like 4 times the entire world's GDP.
Yeah.
So that money doesn't even exist.
Yeah, it's like 20 times America's GDP. America's GDP, it's 19 trillions. Goldman Sachs has in derivative 50. So you can tell just Goldman Sachs can debacle the whole country. And they're
And then
involved in Evergrande.
And then I think Boss Blunts uploaded a video where he found or came across the Lehman Brothers bonds are still out there, like you can see them on what's it called, on Bloomberg, which means that it's been since 2008 and it hasn't even been taken care of yet.
And Bear Stearns, by the way.
What?
And Bear Stearns, the one that went bump.
Oh yeah, you're right.
So I mean, I don't see. Yeah, and the correction is not gonna be immediate. I'm expecting the housing correction probably next year because it takes some time. But I believe that's the way it's gonna be, because right now I have people on real estate and like in Discord, and they're like people don't want to take loans because they know the house are either overpriced or they think there's going to be a market correction, so they don't want to buy houses right now. And probably many people here are waiting for that to happen, so they buy houses. So we're all on the same idea at some point.
The buy-in finally slowed down in the last few months, and the days on the market have increased. So it started slowing down already.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I saw.
I'm outside looking at a house. I'm
I
outside looking at a
saw
house
some.
right now that's been in
Sorry.
foreclosures, that's sold. that I'm looking at a house right now outside my front door that sold just pre-pandemic in foreclosure, but they have not been evicted yet because of the moratorium. Now it's just a matter of time before you get them people out of the houses. Now, so you're also got to deal with that glut that's been, held off.
Yeah, the problem is when they
I
put a date
thought,
on it, now it just comes rushing in like a damn flood. Now is the problem with that. I don't know why they do these things.
Well, it's because they let the wrong people control them and they don't actually punish them when they do shit. But as far as the how you were saying days on the market increased, so I just closed on my house 2 weeks ago. I sold it, and because I felt like this was coming, I'm not saying it's coming. I decided to rent for 2 years and let the market play out. And hey, if it stays the same, then I just get back in and buy a house. And if not, I don't know what I'll do then. But another thing I think is possible. Um, this is a little political, but I'm not gonna make it political. If so, we're capitalist, and we talk a lot about like, are we moving towards like a socialist capitalist hybrid country? And if you believe that we are, it would make sense that if all these people defaulted and all the people that would take ownership of these homes, how about instead of selling them, they start renting everything and we slowly start converting into like a renting nation rather than homeowners.
that's what's happening.
Yeah, and so like if you see BlackRock, I saw this on articles, but I couldn't find any hard data on it. But apparently BlackRock, Vanguard, Zillow, Realtor.com, they've actually been buying up supply throughout the pandemic, and they've been overpaying for it.
Yep.
The market's already inflated, and they're overpaying for it. So that tells you there's a sense of urgency. Why? I mean, the only conclusion I can come to is that they're going to start renting all this stuff out. It's kind of like share lending. They have all the AMC shares. Might as well rent them out to Citadel and whoever else and make some money off it.
They're doing that as well.
And I agree. Like I have a friend somebody from Discord, and he also is a realtor, and he was telling us, look, if you're gonna live in the house, you don't care about the price. I mean, yeah, you're gonna pay overpriced, but if you're thinking about renting, what would you buy at overpriced? So yeah, I believe what you're saying is basically the same thought. They don't care the price because they're renting it, and they rather
Right.
buy it now before there is a crash and everybody has money to buy them.
And if they're going to own the house for the next 50 years, what does it really matter?
No, you do care about the price when you're renting a house out. I mean, you have to
No, I'm
cover your
saying
expenses. So
no. What we're saying is, rather than the people who, like, if you got a mortgage, right, and you default, rather than the bank trying to get rid of your house that they took from you really fast to recoup, they might just go on like a rental plan. And the reason is because if the economy is going to go bad, how are they going to flip the house? When no one has the money to buy, people are losing jobs. So with the mass buying we've seen from the bigger guys in real estate and the bigger guys in funds, the only thing that makes sense for them to do all this mass buying and overpay is because they see that there has to be something in it for them. And the only thing I can think of is they'll take the houses they can get now, supplies low, new houses aren't being built as much because lumber's so high and all that supply chain issues. So if they can grab up all the homes, if you want to live somewhere and they have most of it,
Yeah, they
what are
will
you going to
determine the
do?
rent.
Well, I mean, if
no,
the
no, no, no,
supply
no,
is
no, no, no,
low
no, no, no. Yeah, yeah. If the supply is low,
and they
and
buy high,
yeah, and a family can't afford a home, that means they can't afford a home. That means they come to you as a real investor in buying these homes. You get more money, and then you up the price. That's how it works.
But
Right, but if the
if they buy
economy's
a whole
bad, no one can
neighborhood,
afford it.
if they buy a whole neighborhood, they're controlling the price. Real estate is neighborhoods.
exactly.
Right.
They're
There's
control the
another
price.
aspect of that. If they can go
Okay.
and buy all of the neighborhood and just like at a higher price, then also build a really, really big, expensive house, and somebody goes and buys that house, that suddenly jumps up every single other building in the neighborhood. So
But have you?
suddenly, maybe 20 years down the line, if they've been doing this for a long time,
No,
But
no,
if
no,
a
no. Have
house is
y'all
worth
ever
$1
rented
million.
out a house before?
What, sorry?
Yeah, I'm renting one right now.
No. Yeah. So when you rent out a house, so say I go out and I buy a house for $150,000. And that house, I think every $100,000 is equal to $1,000 right now in the market. So now I can rent that house out for $1,200 a month. When the economy busts and people can't buy houses, you drive up your price of your rental property, just like I did, and you drive that up to $1,500. You drive it up to like $1,500. So now a house that cost me $800 a month, I am now getting, I don't know, $1,500 a month, and it's paying for my house and it's paying for my next house as my rental property. I don't
Right.
know,
We're saying the
like
same
y'all
thing.
are okay. Yeah, I'm
The only
confused.
difference is that huge banks are doing what you're thinking, and because they
Well,
have so much money, so much more money than us, they can beat us on rent,
well,
right? So you're
Sean,
saying you would up to 1,500, they'll just buy in your neighborhood and rent it for 1,200
Yeah,
because they're
I've
not going to hurt
always
like we'll
doubled.
hurt.
I've always doubled it because of the thing is always 100,000 is 1,000, 200 is 2,000, and then eventually right now there's no homes really to buy because people keep buying them up. So I buy them and then I rent them. I'm in the army, so like every time I jump duty station to duty station, I just buy houses.
Right, dude. But I think the picture that some of us are trying to get across is not only are they taking homes from people, but they're also going to try and price out retail rental investors because they have so
Monopoly.
much more money that they can afford to give lower rents. And if
yeah,
you're in the same neighborhood, someone's going to be like, why the
but
hell would I rent it for this when I can go
but
here?
trade it's not going to be lower rents. That's where they're going to get you because when they're buying up the homes, they're increasing the demand on the renters.
Exactly.
Once the demand on the renters, the rents goes up with the demand. It's all
Right.
bullshit.
And that would be the case in a healthy economy. I'm talking 5-10 years out. If this whole like Evergrande and everything spills over, you've got to think about the populace. The populace isn't going to be getting as much money. People are going to be cutting people from jobs, right? So then these people can't afford as much as they could before the economy was, well, I don't know if I want to call it stable right now, but I'm sure you guys get what I'm trying to say. So with the economy not doing as well and the populace not doing as well, right? You can beat out other people. Let's just say you're worth $10 million and you have 10 rental properties in a state. If most of your competition around you is Zillow, Realtor, banks, they're going to undercut everyone. It's such a common business. It's what Amazon does. Remember the diaper company that went bankrupt because Amazon decided to sell diapers at a loss for 2 years until they drove their competition out of business? That's
They
what
did
I
that
see.
to a
I'm
lot
not
of
saying
mom
it'll
and pop
happen.
stores.
What's up?
They did that to a lot of mom and pop stores when they
I'm
moved in a
confused. What
neighborhood.
is a Zillow rentator? What, like, I don't know that. I don't understand that because like I'll branch off to like a McDaniels and get them to do my property for me, and then they only get like 5 to 10% off of my monthly whatever I'm charging every month off my property. What is a Zillow, whatever you're talking about?
So Zillow
Zillow is a
usually just
listing service.
facilitates sales and takes a cut, but now they're actually as a company getting themselves into the actual. They're no longer a service. They're transitioning into a player in the real estate market, and realtor.com is doing the same thing.
So Zillow is now renting out homes.
No, they're buying and
They're,
selling homes as a
right.
like through them.
Yeah, but they're
They're
probably
So
buying
let me
homes for
add this into the mix.
dirt ass cheap.
they're a broker transitioning to a realtor.
Uh,
Wouldn't they have
Which means
to
they're
I
be a
buying
saw
broker?
homes for
last.
like they're like selling homes to someone who has to get rid of a home like right away and doesn't want the home no more, basically.
No, they're the middleman between the buyer and the seller. They're more like a
Right
broker.
now,
And
they're the middleman. But when you're a broker, you actually have the title to that property, so you own it. So now Zillow actually owns homes, and the problem is that Zillow has so much real estate data that they can like Mango was saying, that they can inflate prices in certain neighborhoods. They can dictate rental because us as single individuals, even if we become filthy rich off MOASS, we don't have the money that these big guys do. And even though we have the money to actually buy properties, they have the money to price us out.
Yep.
Okay.
That's just
Unless
what I'm
I
trying to say.
mean, I really don't agree, but
They're even
Unless
To
undercutting
add this
agents'
into the mix,
commissions.
I saw over the last quarter new home sales to individual buyers are down 27%.
Yeah, I mean, so I've been looking for a house over the pandemic because I was planning on selling mine, and the one thing I noticed was at the beginning there were so many houses for sale, they were all inflated, and the only ones I see left now, because I've been looking at a like very certain area, is the ones that I looked at and I was like, I don't want that house. Those are the only ones left over.
Trade.
Yeah,
That's
And
everything
those are
everything is inflated right now. Like I bought a house in Colorado Springs, I think for 250,000, and right now that house is almost worth like 390.
yeah,
But
I don't
I don't
disagree with
I
you.
didn't get rid of it. But I actually right now I kind of want to get rid of it because the housing bubble is about to burst, and when it bursts, that house is going to be like probably worth less than I fucking purchased it for. So I mean, I don't know.
Right? I don't disagree at all.
I think
Uh,
something I have been trying to just speak about to as many people as possible, because it's happening in the UK, it's happening in Paris. Like from one of my friends who lives there, it's like BlackRock is now being officially accepted into China, as in having a base of operations there as well. So it's kind of weird that Evergrande is suddenly collapsing and BlackRock is now heavily moving into China, which usually China wouldn't accept that sort of thing. So maybe something to think about. But the only way I can kind of see this being altered in any way is, and I've said this a few times, is if a big group of millionaires got together and started campaigning and not giving up because they don't need to go home and worry about going and getting a job because they've still got millions in the bank, and just not let the Congress, not like businesses, not let anybody stop hearing your voices until they start changing what is actually going on, because this is basically full on trust. Like this is trust of the entire world if it can be like fully operational. And if you've got a ton of millionaires that have got all the time in the world on their hands and a lot of money in their bank account, they do not have to worry about stopping and going home and taking care of all of these other things. They can just stay there and not shut up.
But you know what the millionaires are going to do? They're going to do the same thing that's going on in China right now. You buy a piece of real estate that's worth $1
I'm
million,
talking about us.
and yes, us. I mean, Americans can come on and figure this thing out to where, okay, this property costs $1 million. I'm gonna buy it for $1 billion fucking dollars, and I'm gonna drive up the price, and then I'm gonna sell it, and I'm gonna put it out in the economy. The economy goes up, and I make mad ass money off of this property that I own. Like it's going on right now in Colorado Springs. So I bought a house in Colorado Springs, and I was trying to buy my second home, but I can't buy it right now because they won't let me. I mean, everything just keeps going up. It's like it's like chasing stocks right now with the second home that I'm trying to buy. So like I'm I'm confused right now. I've been drinking, but I'm gonna leave this alone. But I'm telling you right now
I can
that
hear your thought process the more you talk.
it is like when you buying homes right now in the market, it is literally like chasing the squeeze. That is exactly what it's like. And one day it's gonna pop and it's just gonna drop. It's gonna drop a lot. And I'm just telling you, it's not gonna look good. It's not gonna look good at all.
Yeah, I mean, the whole American debt situation, I guess I didn't realize how uh, deeply rooted it is in like our debt and our like more so our toxic debt. But just now that I've learned the market in the last year and these numbers now mean something to me in terms of like GDP and economies and stuff, it's pretty scary the amount, like as I said earlier, like just the derivatives chain that's out there and all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's real scary right now. I bought my first home when I think I was like 20 years old, and I remember somebody coming up to me when I was cutting the front yard because I look like I'm a Mexican or something, but they came up to me, was like, is the homeowner home? And I'm like, dude, I own this house. I own a house here. I own a house on Myrtle Beach. I have a house in El Paso. I have a house in Colorado Springs. I have a house in Columbia, South Carolina, and I'm buying my fifth house here in Arizona. So I'm just like,
Listen, you guys are judging the real estate market by the price. That's the only factor you're going by. The supply is super low. And they're not building the homes. In 2008, the building was out of control. They were
Right,
building
but
so many damn homes and flooding the
yeah,
market with homes.
the
The
supply is low,
supply,
but the demand is real high right now.
the demand was super high. It just started slowing down. So if you see like a 20% slowdown, it's like, oh, whoa. But you're talking about at all-time highs with really low supply. So you just can't keep looking at the price and talking about a bubble and overinflated. It's not
right, but
overinflated
so
as much
what
as people are thinking.
I feel like you're looking at the market at face value, right? You're just looking at homes and prices and supply. But what we're talking about, the toxic debt is what props the market up. So we're a debt-based country, right? We generally don't own a lot. We pay off to own,
But
while the
tell
culture
me
and a
why
lot of other
the mortgages are toxic. The homes that people have been buying, explain to me why it's toxic. Just for conversation. I'm not, challenging you.
yeah, so it was what I was talking about, the interest rates and how people over the pandemic, because they're getting money from the government, and if you were working at the same time and maybe had a spouse who was collecting, a lot of people were getting more money than usual, right? You're a bit you're able, holy shit, I can't talk, you're able to afford a house past your means at the time because the interest rate is so low. But because of what we're seeing with inflation and other factors in the economy, they're going to have to start raising interest rates because banks aren't able to make money right now, right? And I think last week something came out, a tweet was going around that this guy who worked at a bank had a friend, and his friend couldn't get a simple small business loan of like $5,000. If they're not willing to lend, and that's how banks make money, they loan the money that we deposit supposedly safely to make a return on it, and the trade-off is that they hold our money. But if they're not willing to lend right now, even in small amounts, that should be a precursor, and you should think, why won't they loan five? I can understand not loaning $1 million for a home, with what's coming or what people think are coming. But if you're not even willing to loan 5,000, like, that should say something. And this is the same thing you saw in 2008. The banks were slowly closing off loans to the outside because they saw what was coming. But they're like, no bank on an executive level is going to see something deteriorating and then come out and announce it. Like, if you watch The Big Short, Michael Burry knew the market was going to crash for 2 years, and he tried telling professional peers who wouldn't listen to him, and then it happened, and they called him crazy for 2 years.
Those were
So
all toxic mortgages. These people are putting equity. They're putting money down and they're qualifying with jobs. And they're qualifying under the right metrics.
right.
It's,
So,
it's
but what I'm
yeah,
saying is, with the interest rate so low,
that's
people are
beneficial.
buying the most that they can afford, which is not what they could afford a year and a half ago because the interest rates were normal. So you could
They're
afford less. But
yeah, they're
now you can
buying what
afford
they
more for
cannot
a short
afford.
window.
They're
Let me
buying
put
what
this
they cannot
scenario.
afford.
Whoever bought a home last year, they already gained more equity this year. They're already richer. The home prices increased. I forgot what percentage it was.
Right. So what happens next year when if the market goes down and their home is worth, let's say, 15 to 20% less now, and then also they're going to have to pay either the same amount or more, depending on how much interest rates go up. They're now stuck in an adverse situation
But
financially.
not everybody's interest rates are going to go up. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
If you got
But
a fixed rate, you might be back where you started. And there's plenty of jobs, there's plenty of opportunity to pay that mortgage.
right. And so if there wasn't a gloomy economy coming towards us, I would probably agree with you, but I don't think that's the case. And I think right now Evergrande is probably the most
I
or the best example of that.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, families are buying homes they cannot afford just because it's like it's a luxury to them right now. They can get it like at the price they can get it at right now, but it's not going to play out right. It's not going to play out right within the next 12 months. It's not going to play out. It's not going to play
Sean,
out.
what
I'm
I'm
telling you.
saying
Yeah,
is
can I
if
say
they're
something, guys?
qualifying, they're not overbuying.
They're
They're not
qualified.
buying.
Okay.
Mango,
Okay.
I think
Okay.
I think
Yes.
what Trade is trying to say
Yeah.
is I don't think that you're taking into perspective a correction that he's talking about coming. If a correction comes and people lose their jobs, they're going to lose the propensity to pay back loans, whether it's their mortgage or they're renting your house or Sean's house.
Yes.
And when that happens, you got people like Sean who own 5 homes. If 2 of those homes are vacated and he can't find renters for them, he's going to have a tough time maybe covering his own mortgage. And now he's at a risk of being foreclosed on or losing 1 or 2 of those properties. That's what
not even renters. They don't even have to be renters. But for someone who says, okay, I make $1,000 a month, I can afford this $800 home.
That could change.
No.
Somebody got to go mute. There's a lot of noise.
Jake, Straight Jacket Man, your mic is on, dude. Could you mute yourself, please? Hello.
Got you.
Listen, there's been a lot of doom and gloom, more than I ever heard people. I don't know if they're pumping fear in the media or where they're pumping all this fear because of social media. It's getting echoed. It's getting amplified. It's not all doom and gloom in the end of the world like everybody makes it out to be.
It's not.
But we're saying that our economy is overextended.
Let me finish my statement. It's always overextended. Let me finish my statement.
Not like it's been on this stimulus.
Overextended. 2008 was a downright the dirtiest scandal ever that they pulled on the country, on the world. You want to talk about overextended? And you know how fast we recovered from that?
Well, we're talking about overinflated. We're talking about our economy being overinflated by stimulus checks.
And yeah, when you say we recovered, you're talking about the U.S. You're not talking about the person who got like stuck at that time.
Obviously, I can't speak for every person. I'm speaking overall and generally as a country.
Sorry, I missed the last 2 minutes. I was upstairs.
Go ahead. No, you're good. Yeah, my bad. No, I'm just saying you're not talking about the person who got stuck. Like the economy, yeah, that recovered, but that one individual, but did they recover?
Right. So I'm gonna do some simple math here. Get a pen. So let's say you own a $500,000 house, right? And what the interest rate? Let's just say 1%.
I think the lowest I seen was 2 on owner occupied was a 2. What the hell was it? 2.2.
Yeah, 2.5 would be more fair.
2.3.
Like that was the lowest owner occupied rate I've seen
for a 30-year fix. Yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna just throw some BS numbers out, but just for concept. So the house is $500,000. You're paying $2,000. The market tanks. Your house is worth, I don't know, let's say $400,000 now. So you lost what, 20%? Now, if the rates go up because banks are hurting and they need to make more money,
Trade, but the rates aren't going to go up. If the rates go up, it don't matter. You already have a mortgage locked into an interest rate. The only way you're going to pay some more is if you took out an ARM, like an adjustable rate mortgage.
Right.
Most people are grabbing 30-year fix, 15-year fix. So I don't think that's going to be a problem.
And it depends how long you hold
if that's the case, if you're on a fixed and you're paying that amount now and the value goes down, wouldn't you technically be overpaying?
I mean, a little bit, because you can't collect the rent that you could have in a different market.
Right, which leads to... But do you see how things, when that scenario starts playing out, and that's what a lot of people think is going to play out, do you see how like margins start getting slim and money starts getting tighter?
But when it comes to rental properties, you're always going to make profit anyways when the market tanks, because when people can't buy homes, they have to rent them. Like it's always going to like
true.
No, right. It's true.
If people start being evicted and people start being evicted because they can't rent or pay their mortgage, you're going to have a bigger supply. So the bigger supply is going to drive the prices down, and it's also going to drive the rental.
Yep. And then the wild card
amount of rent you can collect.
And then there's always going to be someone lined up, standing in line to get that home,
which is
big money. There's always going to be someone in that. And even if you're not, if you got a McDaniel, something like that, renting out your home, and you're not going to run a credit on them just to get that home rented out, that home is going to get rented out regardless.
And I just want to say something real quick, Trey, because you're just trying to paint like a real gray, black and white picture, kind of. But if anybody was in the home, I don't know whether you want to do owner occupied or a rental, if anybody was in there for 7, 8 years, you already gained that drop in equity. So it's not everybody you speak of.
Right.
It's for
Look,
maybe new homeowners, so it's a certain percentage. So now the picture looks less gloomy once you start factoring all the factors in.
right, but how
You know what I'm
active
saying?
how active was the real estate market in the last 2 years compared to the previous 5 or 6? How many transactions were there? The real estate market was hot as shit during 2020.
It was hot because of the low supply.
It was
Everybody
hot
was
because
fighting over a few homes.
it was hot because of the low interest rates.
Yeah, they were fighting over homes to get into to live in with their families, right?
Yeah.
It,
Right.
Like there was a bidding war on my house.
So when it comes
It-
to rental estate, when it comes to rentals, like it's
It was
a
rental and
win-win
owner
situation
occupied, Sean.
always. It's
It was
always
both.
it's always win-win situation.
Yeah.
If
It depends when you buy.
somebody has to get in a house, somebody got
Right.
kicked out of their house and they got to get into that house
If you buy at the
because they
top of
need
the
a roof
market,
over
though,
their
Sean, you're
kids'
not
heads.
gonna. It's not a win-win.
No, it's always a win-win.
No,
It's
it's
always
not.
a win-win.
I live here in LA.
I mean,
Yes, it
I
is.
live in
in my
in
opinion,
Hollywood.
Hey
I don't
guys,
know. For me,
guys. Could you one of you speak at a time? We're kind of having struggle to actually hear one person at a time. I can't tell what anybody's saying at this point.
for my situations, it's always been a win-win situation because when
But
something
although
happens and they have to get out of their home, they go into my home and they have to have a home. They have to have a roof over their children's head, or it's always a win-win for me.
right. So I think you guys are taking the personal approach. I'm trying to take the macro approach, which again comes back to, it's always going to come back to these big institutions buying up the real estate market and the question of why. So like you said, if someone loses their house, they have to come rent from you. Now, if you set X price and an institution has a house in your neighborhood, they can see the rental prices that are posted online. And what are you going to do when they start undercutting you? That's the question I'm trying to raise, because it doesn't matter if I can afford 50 rental properties after MOASS if I can't get anyone to rent them because all these people with way more money than me are willing to take less money and they'll be stable with less rental income. Then what the hell do I do? Right. So my initial plan was trying to buy foreclosed homes now. And so what I'm trying to do now is gauge how realistic is this, like this institutional real estate grab, and how spread out is it? Is it only in major cities? Is it everywhere? Is it suburbs? Are they aiming for families? Like, I'm just trying to keep an eye on it and see, is this the move that I still want to do? Because that's what I like, passive income, and that's what I want to do. But if I don't,
I could probably like half-ass answer your question, but I've always went under the market for everything for my homes that I rent out because as long as it covered the mortgage, then it worked out for me. So, but I don't know, like
right? So,
I really can't answer your question.
Right, but that's my point. We've never been in a situation where we've had to compete with BlackRock's, with Realtor.com, with Zillow for rental. It's usually been real estate investors, or it's been really rich individuals who buy up real estate. And so we're entering into something new with possibly gloomy economics. So there's a lot of new big catalysts being thrown at us. And the thing is like, how do we pivot this so that after MOASS, we can take care of ourselves rather than leaving our money in the bank, because we know how that works out.
I don't think Zillow anyways can touch lower than what you pay on your mortgage every month. I've always went to the lowest on mine just to get someone into my home. But
No, I'm talking about
I,
Zillow entering the market as a company that owns houses, right? So if they own it, they can sell them, they can rent them, they can sell them in blocks to investors. That's something that happened over the pandemic. Zillow 4 years ago wasn't doing that. They were just facilitating buys and taking their cuts from realtors and sellers if you sold your home on your own. So
yeah,
what I'm
but
saying is
I don't
there's a
think
shift in the
Zillow
real
I
estate
don't think
market.
Zillow can beat the prices under because Zillow is a big ass fucking company, so they have to make money. They got to get advertisement, all that other stuff to going. So like,
What do you
I
mean?
don't
All it takes is one person at a desk to post it online for rent. They have
no,
more resources.
I don't think Zillow can beat the mortgage price because if I got a mortgage of $800 a month I don't think Zillow can just like undercut me and say $700 a month.
They're
Because
gonna
Why
do
Zillow is
not?
it
now
just to
losing
drive
money
you out,
because you
Sean.
gotta have Zillow has
They're paying cash,
they have
bro. They don't owe
no
anyone.
they have fees. They have Zillow has fees.
Sean.
They have tax. They have local tax,
Hey
and
guys, can I
depending.
say something real quick? Since
Yeah,
you
go
guys are
for it.
going back and forth.
Yeah.
So this is happening. I don't know how crazy it's going to get, but I'll give an example. So it's not just Zillow, by the way. It's Redfin and several other big companies that are buying up properties. So I've seen a couple Redfin properties. Redfin buy a couple. I bought a new house during the pandemic, so I live in a brand new neighborhood. All the houses were just completed, and they're already. Some people have already flipped their houses to Redfin in my neighborhood. In one of them, I contacted the person through our Facebook group, and I'm like, I just wonder what they're going to rent that thing for. And it is rent. So my mortgage is around $2,500 a month. Okay, they're renting this house for $3,500 a month. $3,500 a month, guys, and
That's
it's
insane.
and it's not worth anywhere near $3,500 a month. And guess what? They rented it out. It was up
That's
for rent
insane.
for about
In my
3 weeks,
neighborhood,
and
they're
they
paying
rented it
that for
out.
apartments.
So I don't know what exactly is happening, but it's something that we should all pay attention to. So I think there were some good points made there. I don't know who was. I think it was TRADETIGER that was talking about that. But I've seen it, and it's not just Zillow that's made this shift. It's a lot of these.
BlackRock,
There's
Zillow, Redfin, Realtor.com.
yeah, next door. What is it called? Door something.
Oh, Pat Chamath's company, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
Let me
and
look
what
it
they're
up.
doing,
I think
is
it's called Open Door.
they're undercutting a lot of realtors, right? Because they are paying cash.
Yeah, you talking about
It's
Open Door, Stick?
yeah, it's Open Door.
Open Door, yeah. So, and what they're doing is they do cut out a lot of the fees. And like if I wanted to sell through Open Door right now or Redfin or any of them, they would offer me less for my house than going through a realtor, but there'd be
How are
less
they undercutting
fees.
realtors? Can you just explain that, please?
Go
If
ahead.
you said they own the home, how are they undercutting realtors?
It's a janky ass business. It's janky. It's
They
janky.
just
How are
they
they?
facilitate the
They're
transactions for less
they
commission.
instead of me going through a realtor and paying 6% in fees, I'm going to pay them fees, less
But he
fees
said
though.
they own the home.
No, they're going to buy it from me.
Okay. You don't sell your home
So
to the realtor.
what he's saying
I'm
is right
confused.
now
Yeah.
you hire a realtor and they market your house for you, but now you can just get on their website, take pictures or have someone take photos of your home, list it on their website, and they'll cut out the real estate investors. They'll be the real estate agents and the brokers,
They're the
right?
bank, they're everything. They
That
come
I
in,
understand. I was confused because he's
they do it
saying you're
all.
buying your home or selling your
It's
home.
ja-
That's where I was confused on what he was saying.
No, and what they're doing,
it's
like I
janky
said,
business.
is they're doing this and then they're renting your house out after they buy it from you.
It's
Who
janky
is buying it?
business.
See
It's
what I mean?
janky business.
Hold on a
Like
second. That's
it's all
exactly what
janky.
he's saying. Who is
Mango,
buying the home?
Redfin, Zillow,
Mango. So
Chango?
there's
Open
these
Door, they're
these
buying them,
websites.
they're owning them, they're renting them out. What's hard to
Yes,
understand about that?
exactly. I know. The other people keep interrupting. They keep saying something else. I know that's what you're saying. They're buying the home. They're telling me he's acting as the realtor, but they're not. They're buying the home,
No,
right?
what
No,
he's saying is
they,
by them buying your home, but being able to facilitate the whole process, it takes out the need to have a realtor. So that's one person in the economy who might be getting less business, but it also takes out the need to have a broker. So that's another business that's not going to get money. All of those transactional taxes or fees are going to go straight to the person who's buying your home, and then that person's going to own the home now and rent it out. And if they
Yep.
keep doing that from people defaulting, from
Oh,
buying up the market before individuals can get it, they can own more and more property and then rent it out. right?
Yeah,
You,
janky business.
you guys, I've even seen them step in and save escrows here in Los Angeles, Hollywood. So like if an escrow is about to whatever, just not close or whatever, they'll step in and buy the house. But Mango, I think what you might not be understanding. So if you wanted to sell your own home, right, you would traditionally go to a realtor, and that
Yeah.
realtor would list
Yeah,
your home
yeah.
on MLS or some type
Chango,
of listing.
listen. It helps. I'm talking to you, and other people keep interrupting, and that's where the confusion is happening. There's too many people talking, and I
Oh,
can't
gotcha.
really clearly hear what you're saying.
Oh, so yeah. So all that I'm saying is, if you wanted to sell your home, you would traditionally go through a realtor. They would charge you whatever 3%, 6%, so they can offer the buyer's agent 3%. And what these companies are doing, our owners are becoming aware that they can go straight to these companies, Redfin.
Yeah, they're listing them online with these
Right,
online. Yeah.
right. And so
Yeah, yeah.
they're becoming the hub of where you go to sell your house, and because of it, they're the gatekeepers, and then they're basically cutting out traditional realtors and brokers is what they're
Yeah. So
doing.
what I wanted to say is it's exactly right. They're still linking buyers and sellers together, and they're getting your listing.
Right, but yeah,
Yeah.
they
Right,
try to
but
jump in and grab what they can too
Right.
at the time, whether it's financing or one side of the transaction
Yeah.
or both.
They try to give you the whole nine service.
So it's like a car. It's
Right.
like a Carvana with homes.
Because I just kept hearing somebody say they're buying your home, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah, they
no,
really gone that
no,
deep.
they are buying homes too. Like there will be homes owned by Zillow, owned by Redfin that are being rented on the market, and the more homes these guys and big money can accumulate, the less homes that we're going to be able to buy, and the more the population is going to be forced, whether they like it or not. And I don't mean in a tyrant way.
No,
I
I
mean
hear
in
you.
a financial
But
way.
trade, isn't
So
that a crazy conflict of interest there? How could you take listings and you're buying homes at the same time? In a realtor, there would be
it's not
some
a
kind of
conflict of interest. Brokers can buy and sell homes all they want, or they can list it for clients.
It's like a Carvana for homes. That's exactly what they're
Except
doing.
for
It's
the only difference
Carvana.
is Carvana's not reselling the car; they're renting it or they're leasing it out to people, and that's what's so scary, in my opinion, is that people like I think we're lucky that we're involved in this market because of all the stuff that we're talking about and learning that your average person doesn't even dedicate 5 minutes a day to, right? So we're like fortunate enough to kind of have foresight and discuss and learn, and if we don't know, someone may have the answer. But for the most of the population, I don't even think they really know what's going on right now. Evergrande's barely been on the news.
They call me Bobo Boy. I took shit for 3 months. All that stuff you heard on the Big Short, basically.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Michael Berry got called crazy for 2 years, and the fucking return that dude made was
No, but I
insane.
was more like the guy Bennett. They call him Chicken Little and all that crap. I was more like that.
He
Oh my
almost ran
god,
out
I
of
completely
cash.
forgot about Chicken Little.
No, but
I don't
I mean,
want
I
to be
saw
a
the numbers.
pie.
I saw the numbers, and I was like, "Nah, this is going shit." And I
Hey,
saw
do
this since
y'all
May.
own a lot of homes?
Hey, what?
Do y'all
You
own
guys,
a lot of homes?
I got a few places in DC.
I saw this tweet, which is I don't disagree with it. It says I saw someone say that it's bad that BlackRock is invested with Evergrande because they
What do you
sell
say?
the AMC shares. And also says I disagree. I think this will make them start increasing their short borrow fee or stop lending out shares and let AMC fucking rip. Yeah, I agree. I mean, probably they don't want to bear the losses and they will increase the fee and probably recall the shares if they have been lending them and
Oh
make
shit, you
it.
know what? I didn't even think of that because
Yeah, I
they
didn't
could be
even
in a
think
tight
about it
spot with
either.
what's going on in
That's
China.
true,
Maybe.
man. And they're the ones that are holding long on Evergrande. Like they're the number one on the list. So I haven't thought about it. Like I mean, probably came through my mind, but not. I didn't process it. I was supposed to. But that's pretty good. I mean, probably they're letting everything fall into Citadel.
What's Evergrande's ticker? Anyone know? I mean,
I'm trying to get this
I'm gonna look up
AMC
the
going.
13.
I'm trying to get this AMC train going.
I'm so stupid. I typed in Evergrande
It's not
TikTok,
bad,
not
bro.
ticker.
It's a way to transfer the cost to the hedge funds.
The ticker is
Hey, listen,
HKJ,
with Michael Berry,
HKG, by the way. Go on, sorry, man. Go.
No, I was just going to say the biggest lesson with Michael Burry that everyone knows, you can't time it. We all think it's going to happen. This is all adding up. It's compounding. And guess what? It still takes another year or two after that. It's like blowing up a
And
balloon.
Well, I mean,
You think it's going to pop and they put another breath of air into it somehow.
well, so okay, so that's the other thing that's complicated. We've printed 25% of all U.S. dollars in existence just last year. So if
I
we
know.
bail out the market again, we're gonna kill the dollar ourselves. If China comes and calls for their bonds and we need to pay up, that's gonna kill the dollar. If all the dollars that China's holding right now floods the market, that's gonna kill the dollar. We're stuck between a rock
Well,
and a hard place right now.
I think that's the problem we're having. We already used up the quantitative easing trick for the pandemic.
We're in a liquidity trap, and that's the main issue. You can't stimulate the economy anymore with low interest rates. We're in that point. So if we are in a crash, what is the central bank, Federal Reserve, going to do? Increase rates, because the market won't react with low interest rates anymore.
Is Boss Blunt still in here?
Yeah, I think he's probably going after some whiskey or some blunt. I don't know.
I'm trying to find. I can't find the who.
Yo,
Oh,
boss,
I
come and
guess
speak, bro.
I'm trying to find who owns shares of Evergrande, but I just realized it's a Chinese stock, right?
But that's good. Like, imagine if BlackRock has been lending Citadel and they don't want to bear the losses from the bonds, they just pass the cost through increasing the borrow rate. It's not
Yeah,
that.
no. I'm just trying to. I like an idiot. I was looking for the 13 Fs for Evergrande, but I just realized I'm not going to get them because it's the Chinese market.
Well, Evergrande is going like
No, it's foreign
$2.41 right
exchange.
now.
Yeah, I just want to see who owns and how much, just to try and gauge like how tough of a spot they're in. But I don't know where to get the info
I was thinking about buying a dip.
on Evergrande.
Listen, I gotta go, man. Good conversation, guys. Have a good night.
All right, man.
No
Take
problem, man.
Yeah, Evergrande is going to dip some more. I'm buying some eyelets right now. I'm up 100%.
So, did anyone see that? Let me see. I think I might have retweeted it. I somehow came across this tweet of this guy's take on the Evergrande situation, and it actually makes a ton of sense.
Is it that 23 tweet long thing?
Yes.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Do you see that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So he actually kind of opened my eyes.
Michael Burry also retweeted that, by the way.
Yeah,
Did he?
I read that in the morning. It was a pretty good thread.
Oh crap! That's what I was trying to tell Mango. Remember how he said Michael Burry had to, and I'm not talking crap about him. I actually wanted to tell this to him before he left. Remember how he said Michael Burry had to wait for 2 years? When the whole GME thing started, he got on Twitter, tweeted his old emails from the 2008 financial crisis, and he said, "I tried to tell them then, they wouldn't listen to me, so I'm telling you now." Right? So which means he sees it happening again. So yeah, it might not be tomorrow in 6 months. Maybe it's in 2 years. But
cough, cough, cough,
yeah,
cough.
and I think he's being super cryptic because I heard something about the SEC doesn't like the way he tweets, and they had said something to him, which I think is why he gets on, posts it, leaves it up for an hour, deletes it, deactivates, comes back, drops gems, and then leaves again. And I think 2 days ago he hashtag GME squeeze. So I'm pretty sure he's tracking everything.
He was the email that he was focused on was like from about, I think it was 2 years ago or something like that, and he was saying where it will be gone. So before it got ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I have a question. It's off topic though.
That's cool.
Go.
What do you think of Body, that Beachbody stock?
The P90.
Beachbody.
It's called Body. Those DVD home workout things. Is that it? Hello?
Yeah, Body. I found it. To be honest, I don't know anything about it. I did hear about it 2 or 3 months ago, but that's all I remember.
Okay. Yeah, because I was wondering why it's only like $7. It's going lower. It looks like they're shorting it, but it looks like the company has no debt and everything like that. So I was just wondering why it's so low.
Let me check Vortex.
I can tell you right now what the Army's going to buy into, just like we bought into Teams, and Teams went skyrocket off of that. ILS. The Army's is spending, they start a new MOASS for firefighters, for the militaries, and ILS is about to explode.
Nice. But I think Beachbody's also coming out with a bike that competes with Peloton as well.
So Beachbody's
where
only 5% or 4.86% short. And there was some FTDs in the last cycle. So with plays like this, it all comes down to retail sentiment, right? Like the reason AMC and GME are such like diehard diamond hands is because the people that are in them aren't willing to walk away. That's all I want to say on that. So you got to figure that part out. Sorry, I didn't mean for that to sound rude. It's just you got to figure out whether it has a community behind it like we do. And then that's how I would base my decision, not financial advice. It feels so weird saying that. Yeah. So
I say it all the time. Like, I mean, I know people want to have a specific answer, but at times it's too obvious, like a financial advice question, and it's like I can't give you a yes or a no.
Yeah. It's like I could.
Yeah, I have AMC stock. Yeah. I have like 1,400 stock on it. It's just I was just curious about body.
Yeah, I don't know if you have a position or not, and I don't want to say something that's going to make you think something, but that's why I was telling you if I was approaching body, what I would be looking at is if it has a community around it and to gauge them, and then obviously go through the DDs and see if you believe in it or not.
Can I say something real quick? Like AMC, we gotta stop being so sensitive to doing the wrong thing. Like you see what happens every day. You see what happened. What was it? Was it yesterday or day before yesterday? That was even a ladder attack. That was at 4 degrees down. Like we got to stop being sensitive to this shit. And like the SEC already said they understaffed. So like, why are we trying to be careful with what we say over social media when it comes to this stock? Like, we really need to stop fucking being sensitive to this shit and just like
I don't know, dude. Because think about it. There's
not financial advice, but guess what? We need to stop being sensitive to this shit and fucking and do what we need to do.
I mean, there's a difference between me telling you that this is the short interest and blah blah blah, and there's a difference between me and you telling, hey, you should go buy this stock, right? That is.
I'm not saying
marketing
buy
a stock.
But I'm saying like AMC train instead of follow train. How would we do a fucking AMC train? It's like a fucking like you buy 10, I buy 50. You buy 100.
Yeah. So
buy
do you see what you're already planning something that is quite literally illegal? Yeah. We can't do that. We can.
Illegal.
It is illegal.
It literally is illegal.
It's
illegal.
Yes, it is. The only reason the people on CNBC can tell you to buy or sell is because they have financial licenses. It is 100%. Look, like if you're a dad, you say, "Hey, son, buy this," but when you're going around telling people you don't know to do something with their money in an investment, in my opinion, it is 100% illegal. Is it a big deal? Probably not, because we're small fish. But in something like this, that's creating a problem in the system, do not give them the slightest reason to come after you. They couldn't come after DFV because he was sharing public information.
I mean,
but they went after his employers.
Like, let's just think about this for a second. So Keith Gill's previous employer has just been charged $4 million because he used to work there. Like, you know, yes, that's got a little bit more weight on it because he used to work in an investment firm and he shouldn't, technically he actually signed an agreement that he shouldn't have been doing what he was doing outside of work. But, you know, like, this shit can follow you around. And like, if you're saying something where there's trillions of dollars at risk, They are going to try and find absolutely anything they can to nail to you and nail you to the cross.
Yep. Because, dude, think about it. If they are successful in making an example out of us, they don't have to worry about this shit happening again. But if we play our cards right and we don't give them a reason to come after us, we're...
What's up, Abe Nation? How you guys doing? We're listening to a live space call right now, hosted by Tara Bull, Francisco, Seeking Potency, The Great Beyond, Trade Tiger. Got quite a few good speakers up here right now. Some interesting information shared earlier. I'm not sure if I entirely agree with everybody's stance, but I do think that they were mostly on point. You know, Francisco is an economist with a master's degree in economics. Terrible's a very smart person, been in the stock market a long time, fantastic ape, been in this shit and was on Charles Payne, Fox News and all that shit, so she's a great person for the movement. Trade Tiger, Great Beyond, both know them personally through Twitter and whatnot. Very smart individuals. They've had a great, excellent Twitter space call going on so far about Evergrande, and the fact that they're talking about it, you know, is real, man. It's just not just China's problem. And I wanted to get on a little earlier and talk to this guy, what's his name? This guy Mango that was up here a little bit earlier talking to the space call. I just didn't have the opportunity to because I was busy taking care of my kids, getting them ready for bed. But you know, I feel the guy is has a lot of good points. However, I fear that he may be unwilling to see some of the realities in our economy and in the global economy. So what's up, Pam? Eli? Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for my mods. Appreciate y'all. Let me know if you got any requests or any questions. I'll be happy to try to answer. I'm going to be hanging out here for at least the next hour. We're going to roll some blunts. Chill with my girl, Mary Jane. All you Abe Nation. Good to see y'all. Thank you very much. Let's go back to the space call and see what they're discussing. I'll hop in here and I'll discuss with them in a moment. And we can have a real tough conversation.
Rather just, look, I'm giving you an informed data.
What's up, Paulie G? Good to
so
see you,
can make your
Paul.
own decision based on that, but you obviously understand what I'm saying. But
Misael,
I can tell
Beverly,
you, yes, you have
Truth,
to
Jonathan, everybody, thank you guys for coming out, guys and girls. You guys are awesome. Let's see what this space call is all about.
Give you information, and based on that, you make your own judgment.
I just don't want to go to jail or have someone take all my money.
Like, it's
incredible. What he's saying, we are almost in the end of the road. We cannot give them any reason to take this down. It's just like that. We have to keep on holding and whatever we're doing, so that way they don't have a reason to mess up with us. Because the moment they see the amount they have to pay us, right? They will see. I mean, they will pay us, but even the IRS will be hunting us.
Like, yeah, pay your, or actually not even pay your taxes. I'm going to a tax accountant immediately.
Yeah, and a tax
The IRS is already on me.
tax attorney as well.
This is the whole reason I got into this. I never talk on these things, but I was around and I had a retirement at 2008. Me, my wife, my parents, they stole all that money from us. And this is the reason I'm in it. I listen to you guys. I listen to, tons of people. Read DD, but what brought me into this was they stole all that money from us. I was there.
There's still a lot of money from us.
Yo, sorry to cut
and they're
you guys
still
off.
using it against
Michael
us.
Berry just retweeted that 24 post thing. I put it up at the top. If you guys are curious about the whole China situation, that's a really good tweet to read.
It's pretty well explained.
And the fact that he's validating it makes it even that much scarier. Sorry, go ahead, Insomnia.
Like, I read it the moment he pulled it up because I followed that guy, and I read it immediately, and I retweeted immediately because it was a pretty well detailed and well analyzed. I would even say he might hold a PhD in economics or a master's minimum, because the analysis he makes is pretty detailed.
Yeah, he knows even like the steel companies in China, and he knows the real estate market, which means he knows what the fuck he's talking about. And I haven't seen other analysts who've spoken on Evergrande get in that much detail or have that much knowledge of how the CCP functions economically and as a government.
Like I was telling people, right now you won't see in the media talking about Evergrande. They don't want to hit the market, but the moment the debt, because right now they're focused on the debt ceiling, because the debt ceiling is where they get collateral. If they don't get collateral, then there will be a worry about the China thing, because right now they're thinking they will hold it, and the debt ceiling will come in agreement at the last minute. We already saw that Republicans are not giving the hand, and they will not help on the debt ceiling. So I'm expecting the crash.
Right, but remember last time we raised the debt ceiling, the market tanked 20% in 2011.
Yeah, but that's yeah, I agree.
So
but
then that could set off a chain reaction with all the being over leveraged and stuff.
Yeah, but something that you did not are not considering. If we default, remember these banks, they hold long on U.S. Treasury notes for collateral. They hold like 10 to 15% on their books. So if those bonds get downgraded, the Fed will not consider them as a good, like, high quality assets. So
no, I'm talking about our credit rating.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we get downgraded to from AA to BBB, whatever the grade they give them, Moody's or whoever gives us, those bonds will not be considered high quality assets. So banks have to put cash from their pockets out of nowhere.
Right, but so what are you saying? We're going to raise the debt ceiling again, but then not take the credit rating hit?
No, I'm saying we're crashing and we're taking whatever they give us, and then from scratch we're gonna see how we expand or whatever they come whatever solution they come up with, but they're gonna let the system crash.
It's sounding like they're going to be holding the parties who had...
Republicans are holding leverage, the debt ceiling. They're holding it for leverage, like because they don't want the reconciliation bill to pass, so they're holding the debt ceiling as a leverage.
I mean, that leverage is especially stronger with Evergrande being bigger.
I mean, I think the filibuster is a shit. I honestly believe it, because in any country you can pass anything with simple majority, but in the United States you need to. I mean, it's not really constitutional. It's just a formal way to do things. It's just they do it for formality, but it's not on the Constitution to do the filibuster. It's just a formality, but both parties acknowledge it. So if you do that, it's like it looks back it looks back on you. That's what it is, basically. But it's not because it's unconstitutional, because McConnell already did it for the, what was it? During Trump's period, he didn't care about the filibuster. He skipped it. And I don't remember exactly what was the thing he did politically, and he skipped the filibuster because
that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, but at that time Democrats were minority in the Senate, but I don't remember what exactly bill did he used it for. I would be lying.
You ain't lying.
Yeah, I don't remember it exactly, but he used it, and then it came with the voting right, because Democrats want to pass this voting right thing with because of the Texas legislature bill for restricting voting, and you have people in the Democrats like Manchin, that he wants everything bipartisan. Yeah, bipartisan sounds nice, but sometimes you have to do what the party says, and you have to take a lead. I mean, it's just how the game is. I mean, I'm not like, I know people might be Republicans or Democrats. It's just, as an economist, I can be apolitical. That's how it is. I mean, I can. So it's just my way to see things. I mean, you can share my views, like you can reject them. I'm open to anything, but I'm saying that's the way I see things. I mean, yeah, it sounds nice to be partisan for everything, because everything needs to be the majority, but the simple majority is the majority. And that's the thing. So it really depends on how you see it.
You guys have been on a great point all night.
What's up, bro?
Hey, boss.
Hi, everybody.
Yo, boss.
Hey, sorry I wasn't able to answer your questions earlier. I was putting my kids to bed. But first of all, Tara and Francisco, Great Beyond, Trade Tiger, and everybody else, thank you very much for your information. It has been fantastic listening to you guys. And I hope you're not mad at me, but you guys have been live on YouTube for the last about hour or so.
Fucking asshole.
Almost 300 people watching me. There's several hundred people watching this whole fucking Twitter space call right now on YouTube, commenting in the chat, and they wanted to, ask some questions. So, you guys have done a great job explaining this so far, and I'm more than glad to speak with you guys.
Should we
We are being used.
hold on? Should we get David and Xerox or not?
How are you today?
What's up, man?
Hey, man.
Hey, do we
What's
want
the
to take
question?
these? Let's take these hands up, and then Boss Blunts can do his
If you're not,
YouTube.
if you're
Francis,
not
you can
speaking,
run this,
please mute
dude.
the
This is
microphone.
your
Yeah.
space.
Malaysian guy, what was your question?
Brother, if you're on a tractor, we can't hear you.
I think he left.
Are you on a farm?
Yo, boss.
Good morning. And, it's already 10 a.m. in Malaysia.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, bro.
Do you want to ask it?
I don't know. Boss Blunt, you can keep talking, bro.
All right.
I don't
Can
know.
somebody, hey, Francisco, do me a favor, mute this guy.
Yeah, can we mute him?
Where
That's
you
the
from?
thing.
Where
I
you
don't know.
from?
I don't know. I don't see. Oh, I think it's
Take his
him. Let me
name and then
fix
it should pop up and you give him.
Oh, yeah, it's him. Yeah, just.
Okay. Let's take these two hands up, and then let's just let Boss Blunts flood it with the YouTube stuff.
Yeah, he used us, bro. Like, for real.
I feel molested.
I feel used.
I don't really have a question, but I just want to tell everybody I appreciate everybody, man. The ape community is very strong. I bought 1,200 shares today. I dropped 50 racks. I love you guys. Do it for everybody for Ape Gang here. Love you guys, and I'll buy some more next week. Y'all keep it strong.
Fuck yeah, brother. That's bullish, man. 1,200 shares, 50 grand. You're a fucking silverback, brother. Welcome.
Representing the Taiwan Ape Gang.
Word.
That's awesome, brother.
Xerox?
It's kind of off topic, but
Zero. Sorry.
I was saying, what do you have thoughts about Workhorse?
Anyone?
Because they do have a committee behind them as well.
All right, let me get on my computer real quick.
Like from a standpoint of fundamentals for the business, like they're basically turning like vehicles that aren't originally electric into electric vehicles. So I can see quite a good kind of if they've got like successful fundamentals since I last looked, which was months ago. If anything has improved, like I could see that being quite a strong company in the future. Because
after all this, but I think they're gonna get short squeezed as well.
Possibly. I heard the short interest was quite decent, but I haven't really been paying attention because he hasn't got the community.
35.74 cost to borrow average is 6.31. Utilization's at 100. 68% of the free float is on loan. I don't know anything about the fundamentals, but and I don't know anything about the community, but data wise, I mean, I like it.
Yeah. Dude, I've been in it for about a year and a half now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can't speak on time because this is my first like long play of this long. So
hey, but hopefully I don't get taxed as much.
Yeah, so that's the one thing. Like, if this goes over a year, and by this I mean AMC and GME, I'm 100% okay. I'm completely fine with paying 15% instead of 40.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah,
They ain't
let that happen.
They ain't letting that happen.
No, they're not. They need to tax us.
That's how they make their money.
Hey, there's a lot of times we've been like, they can't let this happen. It's happened.
Hey guys,
So,
Luca, by the way, I can kind of give you some insight on the workhorse thing. I was in on workhorse less than a year ago when they were about to get the contract, right? And it was a done deal if Trump's in office because he wanted to go electric, but then they ended up giving the deal to Oshkosh, which basically flunked the
Yeah,
stock
but then
and
they had
longevity.
a court thing that happened the other day, and they dismissed it. So I'm assuming they agreed to something.
Yeah, but
And
that's all I had to say, guys.
they might still get the contract, by the way.
Yeah, they very well could, and that would really just send that thing off, and it would really bring the volume back to where it needs to be.
Or even a short squeeze will do that too.
Of course, yeah.
It's just a shame there's no community behind it, really.
Flying as well, as long as people hold.
Yeah, my only concern is with the tax proposal, the way I'm reading it. If they change that tax program to start taxing the assets versus income, trying to go after the rich, which makes us, if the squeeze goes down, making us rich, taxing that asset, even though you haven't realized the gain because you haven't sold yet. That's what my concern is.
they won't. Mitch McConnell will never let that. He will go scorched earth to fight that bill, and all the Republicans will.
Yeah, they will kill the. I mean, they can kill the reconciliation bill because it can pass through the reconciliation, but they will kill the debt ceiling. So that's the leverage.
And their leverage this time versus the last few times is pretty damn serious.
Yeah, it is.
So, just out of interest, because obviously I'm from like the UK, so this bill, does it have to go through Congress and then the Senate, or is it just the Congress, or is it just the Senate?
Every bill has to pass through both chambers and then it's signed by the president.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Reconciliation can skip the filibuster through the Senate. So what happens in the Senate is you need 2/3, meaning 60 senators, right? And you have only 50 Democrats and 50 Republicans, meaning you need 60. You need 10 more Republicans joining the Democrats, and in order to kill the filibuster. That's the issue.
Happening.
I think it's more likely the moderate Democrats side with the Republicans because, dude, that affects Pelosi and all the other Democrats that make so much money through the financial system.
Yeah.
That goes against them.
Absolutely. The Democrats wouldn't let that bill pass, sir.
Yeah, most people don't realize that the extreme left and the extreme right is actually a lot smaller than we think it is. Most of them are diehard centrists, and that's because when they're centrist, they all benefit from the same campaign money. So they're on TV and in general or philosophically, the parties aren't aligned. But I think when it comes down to making money for them and pushing through Wall Street's agenda and corporate agendas, both sides that are centered benefit from that, right? And why I want to say that is, if you look at us as a country,
Flame on.
Bush, through Obama, through Trump until now, us as people, not politicians, although we see it on TV, us as people have become more and more divided, right? And so that makes it hard for us to stand up when we don't like things that they're doing together to force them to fix it with our anger. And I don't mean it in a physical form. So
I agree with you.
If you're like tinfoil a little bit like me, I see a little bit of reality in some of the tinfoil concepts, but I mean, this is the, what's his name? The Pitbull guy. He's from the UK, so I'm sure he knows about this, but historically, like the concept had always been divide and conquer, right? So if we stay divided, they stay at the top. They keep making money.
I imagine there's going to be some kind of because like if you think about it, most of that kind of division is from like less verbal conversations, less like eye contact and stuff like that. And obviously space calls are like the absolute antidote to that to some degree. You don't get the eye contact, but you do get the verbal. You can hear each other's tones, like you can really sort of like kind of have a proper conversation, whereas the division comes from the lack of humanity. It's a screen with text, and like anybody can throw that out at you, and eventually it's just like a load of computers putting like loads of text out. Maybe this SpaceCall and these other apps that have also got like groups where people are talking like in live action, you know what I mean, in person. That sort of deletes that. There's still arguments going on. We've seen so many arguments in this damn community, and it's just like, I understand the frustrations. I feel like there's a lot of psychological warfare that adds on to that layer quite considerably. We're getting mind fucked from every single direction. Of course, we're going to start getting frustrated at each other every so often, but it gets resolved a bit quicker in some circumstances, and people can actually know each other a bit more easily. Whereas text screens, you can have a load of bombarded messages thrown at you saying, oh, this person's an arsehole and this person's nice, he's on your side and that person's not, and he's got this view, so that means he as a person is his idea, not he has ideas. And sometimes they change, and maybe he feels slightly different, and now he actually thinks this way instead. It's like, no, that idea that you know about that person that he had in that one moment ages ago, because that's the only exposure we get in, we're being taught in some ways potentially to keep thinking that way, and that person is that idea for the rest of their life, instead of, okay, maybe they change their mind.
Exactly.
Could I ask a quick question?
Go.
Francisco, are you going to be running the call much longer?
I was thinking about making you co-host, but I don't know how.
You just tap. I think you tap on the person and then you hit invite to co-host. I'm pretty sure.
I don't have the option. That's why.
Yeah, I asked him earlier. I don't think he's got the button. Is it that?
That's
two
so
people
weird.
at the bottom of the screen. Is it that button?
Yeah, I don't have that either. I mean, let me see. No.
Hi, Pete.
I don't know where I can do that, honestly. Let me check if it's here.
Yeah, I was just trying to help you earlier because you had that person who had their mic constantly on. It's just like, dude, we can't hear a thing.
But yeah, to touch on your point,
really quick before you say that really fast, I was asking because I was going to reshare out the call if you're going to keep it going for a bit. So, Francisco, and I'll DM you about how to do. Are you on a PC or are you on a phone?
Phone.
Are you on iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Oh, it might be different for iPhone. I'm not sure. But as far as I'm pretty sure usually you just tap on the person and then invite to co-host.
Yeah, I don't have that. I have sending a direct message, delete all the speakers, silent one speaker, or delete you.
Oh, that's so weird.
I don't have the option. I was looking for it, but I don't have the option.
So you're tapping on people within the call, on their profile picture right here?
Yeah, no, and I just get all those 6 options plus, block you and delete you.
That's so weird.
I just get all those 6 options.
But it doesn't say anywhere invite to. What about a listener? If you tap on a listener?
That's a good question. Let me see. No, everything the same, except that I doesn't say the word mute that person.
Hey, at the bottom of the screen, there should be two little, it looks like a circle, and there's 2 little people.
Yeah.
If you click there, it might be able to give you the opportunity. It gives a pop up, and then you could probably add a co-host. Not sure.
Boss Blunts, you've been bringing the fire. Oh my gosh. I hope your channel's blowing up.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing some great work.
The people are killing it. You know what I mean? The apes are killing it. I'm just helping try to help us spread it around. Share the wealth.
Yeah, I love it. There's so many people just digging into things, and you guys are so on it. It's like we have our own news network practically. It's insane.
Yeah, I love that. That's why I joined Twitter, because I'm like, dude, this is where the news is at. I'm going to Twitter.
Well, for real. And there's so much news. The news is overlooking so much of this, the actual mainstream media. And then you guys are the first. I feel like I'm in the know. It's insane how quick you guys are on all of this stuff. Francisco, you
everybody.
too.
Everybody, you too, right there. I'll be like, holy shit, look what Tara just posted, and I'll be like, it'll be news that just came out like
Yeah, it's this
13
insane
seconds ago.
network.
Like,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it's like as
Crazy
fast as you
network of
possibly get things on the
people.
news. It's awesome.
Yeah,
Hey,
I love
I
it.
just jumped up here real quick to tell you, Francisco. Yeah, like he said, you can tap on those two little peoples on the iPhone down at the bottom, and then you should be able to make her a co-host, man.
No, I don't have the option, bro.
That's okay.
I'm looking.
No worries.
Strange.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's just weird, but I'm gonna tweet out the call anyway, just so people know we're in here still talking about the market and everything.
Send it out. You know, I wanted to mention something to people. In case a lot of you guys. Go ahead, man.
Sorry, boss. I know, we're looking at market correction.
I just needed my
as far
spinach,
as,
you know?
AMC to the moon, but I would rather it not happen that way. And some good news for AMC. NFL games are going to be banned in AMC theaters. Jackson Hunter just posted it.
What?
That's all I came up here to say.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy.
What?
Yep.
Are you serious? Wait, what? Pete, where'd you get this information?
Hey, say that shit again. What'd you say?
It's on their website. They don't say NFL games because I guess there's some contractual obligations there, but they say watch all the big games on Sundays at AMC theaters.
Wow, that's
I'm
awesome
checking right now.
news.
I'm checking right now. Hold on. AMC theaters, September 22nd, 2019. Catch the big game this Sunday. Holy shit, guys! You got to see this. They just put up let me see if I can share this in the SpaceCall somehow. There's a brand new ad by AMC Theaters, and they're going to be hosting fucking football, dude.
I watch soccer.
Carolina at Houston, Cleveland at Baltimore. They're going to have a shitload of games.
I watch the World Cup.
Fuck yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, Baltimore games get sold out a lot. Ravens and Redskins fans are diehard.
World Cup is better.
Tara, that's why I was waving at you. I DM'd you. You're like, hi, Pete. I'm like, no. I'm like, fucking NFL's going to AMC.
Look at this. Virtu Financial sold all their 239K shares on the dip.
It's an AMC stub member exclusive.
I saw that, Francisco, too, earlier.
Sorry, my bad.
Virtu sold and, no.
Was that filed
all
today
kinds
or
of good
yesterday?
information.
I'm surprised they sold that because they were holding long, but now they just sold that.
Do you know when they sold?
I mean, it's an F-13. I'm not an expert on those documents. Joe Bosman, do you have any idea?
Maybe trying to dump it so the price looks like it's going down.
Probably, but we bought that thing.
What are we talking about?
Market maker Virtu Financial sold all their 239K shares in the new 13 filing today.
Yeah, I saw that. All their shares of what was it? Was it of Evergrande or was it of AMC? I don't remember.
AMC.
Yeah, hang on.
So that could explain the drip we saw yesterday and today.
You asked me?
Because
sorry, go ahead, money. Let me listen.
I think before the last run up, a lot of these guys that are on the short side went long. And I don't know if you guys know Joshua. He's the young looking kid.
Yeah.
He was saying that last time this happened, they went long to fake that sell off, remember? So Citadel just loaded up on 5 more million shares. And if Virtu just filed today, that means the shares that they sold could have been part of the drip that we had the last 2 days. And the one 2 days ago looks so fucking fake.
Yep.
That perfect line.
These guys.
It was the same line that took us from the 60s down to 28, remember, over a few days. But if you look at it on the daily chart or the 4 hour, it's that same straight line. That's it.
No, absolutely, bud. I didn't mean to cut you off. It's just tough with a lag sometimes. But you make a great point. It is completely manipulated, and it was nothing but short attacks today on AMC and GameStop, and that's completely normal. A lot of people are wondering, yo, boss, you said it was going to rip today. What the fuck? And I'm like, guys, it did rip. These stocks went down fucking 6, 8, 9%, and they won it all fucking back, and then they ended up down a couple of percent. That's not a big deal. There was $168 million spent on shorts on AMC today. There was around $100 million spent on shorts on GameStop today. That's money in the fucking bank for us.
I mean, just think about this for a second. Like, you know, we've gotten to this point and they're down 4 billion just on AMC. Like, that's without CAT system and phase 5 being in existence. Now that's going to start going up faster. I kind of like, I theorize anyway, because like
exponentially, because the new CAT system gets rid of synthetics. They can no longer make synthetic shares the way that they used to. Okay, they now have to. Every share now has a barcode, a serial number, a VIN number.
They're tracking everything. They're tracking everything.
So that shit is fucking done now. That's why you're seeing the short interest go up. That's why you're seeing the fucking price go up steadily and slowly. And they're still fighting. They're still going to keep shorting it. The algorithm is going to keep shorting it until the very last moment, until they default on their margin. Okay.
Here's another thought as well.
It's not going to just be over one day. They're going to keep doing it until they default completely and are forced to buy it back by the DTC and the SEC.
Okay, here's another thought as well. They were holding, how many shares was it?
239K. I just posted up.
Well, like, think about that for a second. So they just sold those shares, which means now 230K are suddenly gone through the CAT system and can no longer ever be used again for being shorted.
Basically, unless you sell them or
That's right.
That is a huge win.
That's right.
Massive win.
Yes, brother. So people are worried. It doesn't matter. Their shorts are down 653 million. Okay, over the last week, $653 million this week. That's almost 14%.
And those are official numbers because that's from S3. Those are official numbers using official shares. You're not even counting synthetics because you cannot account them.
That's right.
Boss Blunts, your passion makes me feel like I want to change the world.
Dude, that's what it is, man. This is a fucking travesty, brother. This is a travesty.
I'm just saying, your enthusiasm literally makes me feel like I can hop out of bed right now and slide out this door, and I'll take a step outside and everything changes.
Yeah, man. You got to make shit happen, brother. This is how we make shit happen.
Francisco, I hope it's okay. I pinned the screenshot of the website showing the football thing at the top of the call, but if you don't want it up there, just hit that little X and it'll disappear.
You're awesome. Yeah. That's $4 billion a year. You know, that's fucking insanity. That's $165 million today the shorts lost. Everybody on Twitter can see that. I mean, everybody on YouTube can see that right now. I got it pulled up on my screen, but I apologize if I can't show it to you. I actually share it into the SpaceCall. I forgot I could do that. That's awesome.
They can't get it back.
It's ridiculous.
And
86 million
and one
shares.
thing, let's not believe Ortex. I just saw a picture. The Ortex is basically in front of Citadel, so it's like that makes me think that everything is manipulated.
Well, so I think Ortex is like, it's a good gauge, but at the same time, what I like to tell people is remember why we got so stubborn in this, right? It's all the naked shorting. And the fact that it's naked shorting means it's not reported. What we see from Ortex is what people voluntarily report.
Yeah.
Another thing I've heard is I found out today, I have not fact checked it. I'll say it again. I have not fact checked this, but apparently the cost to borrow is also self-reported. So that spike we saw yesterday, if what I'm saying is true, could have been maybe the one honest short hedge fund that like actually reported the borrow fee, and that's why we saw that spike to the 30%.
Yeah, and
so
they were
self-report. You know, it could be 50, 60, 70 right now, right? If all these colluding guys are like, hey, keep it under 3 or whatever. So yeah, just fruit for thought.
Man.
No, for real.
Wait, which one's the honest?
Well, I mean, you know, I wanted to make a point real quick, not to change the subject, but what you said earlier about the shares that were sold by Virtue. I wanted to bring that up to everybody, that Virtue did sell a lot of shares, and in my opinion, this has to do with the fact that September 15th through 17th are the final days for futures contracts and credit default swaps. These to be actually rolled over or closed out, one or the other. And so that being the case, the 15th, 16th, and 17th, they did a lot of rolling and a lot of shorting. So the rolling is what was our big increases in prices over the last 3 days. And the heavy downtrend that you saw in the morning, say, for example, on Thursday, that we were down almost 9% on AMC, and GameStop, was up a couple percentage at best. And then AMC won all that back. They gained back almost 8-9% of that they were down, and barely ended the day negative, which is almost minimal change at the end of the day. But people don't realize that it's not just about what happens in the morning and what happens at night. What the open price and the close price don't mean a goddamn thing, for the exception about how many calls are in the money at the end of the week. What they mean is they don't show the amount of things that were shorted throughout the week, the incredible amounts of short interest and synthetic shorts that were taken out previously. And now with the new CAT system, you're not seeing so many synthetic shorts. That's why you're seeing all the reported shorts on Ortex and such go up, because the numbers are actually making sense. And they can still make it shorts, but they have to be manually not handwritten, but manually input to the computer. They can't have them done by a bot. So it takes a lot longer, and there's much, much fewer naked shorts nowadays. So I wanted to point that out.
Just going to throw in, add to, in addition to that, so can sort of from a strategic mindset kind of point of view, they usually cover these futures, contracts and that sort of thing on the 9th of September, and they have until the 17th. That is the last day that they do it. If they haven't done it on the 9th, and they've had to delay it for several days, that means they've had to panic and try and find as many ways as possible to cover it in the time frame that they had left, and they left it to almost the very last minute. That tells you how desperate they are.
Absolutely, man. And you know what else? That these things, that you didn't see the price action from those today, because they're on T1 and T2 settlement. So today we saw the futures that they closed yesterday, and they covered yesterday. And on Monday, we're going to see the futures that they rolled Friday. And on Tuesday, we're going to see the credit default swaps that they rolled Friday. So Monday and Tuesday are a lot more fucking bullish than Wednesday, Thursday, Friday were this week. And I was expecting us to see the green this week. And guess what? We did. We saw the stocks get shorted almost 10%. And then they gained it all back because their price increased when these futures and credit default swaps were getting rolled. That's what you were seeing. That's the volume you were seeing. International money market dates, IMM dates, they're called. They literally are twice a year. September, the third Wednesday of September, and the third Wednesday of March. That's twice a year, semi-annual. And all of these futures and credit default swaps must be rolled by either the 15th, which is that Wednesday, or their expiration date, the 17th of September, and whatever that third Wednesday of the month would fall for March. So that's why you see these cycles. And so these future cycles and this price action looks the same as it did 3 months ago and 6 months ago for a reason. Because it's the same exact patterns happening over and over again, except everything's getting constricted and squeezed by the amount of apes that are fucking holding. Because when you hold, it prevents the algorithm from properly managing the shares, and it just continues to sell more shorts and cover more shares by delta hedging further and further, rolling more contracts. So absolutely right. This futures are extremely volatile, and we should 100%, in my opinion, see some amazing, incredible positive action on Monday and Tuesday. And the only way they keep that down is if they take out way more fucking shorts than there is positive price action. So we're going to see how much volume they had yesterday and today on Monday and Tuesday.
This is why the patterns that have been sort of standing out, Astro, he sort of spotted some patterns, and I think there's some slight variances there, and some other patterns that some other people have noticed as well. But it does tend to be some. So it's not not necessarily an algorithm. It's literally just they are so stretched that they can't physically hide the pattern. Everything's occurring because a certain date's occurring. Oh, now the ISTA's occurring. Now the such and such is occurring. Now we've got to deal with this, and we've got 2 days to handle this thing. So it keeps doing this thing. It's like they're so stretched that they can't hide the pattern.
they're gonna eventually start juggling too much, and they're eventually gonna drop something.
My analogy is, okay, let's get a bed sheet and try and pull it as hard down over something as possible, and you can kind of see all the bumps and shapes underneath the bed sheet. Anyway, what were you saying, dude? Sorry.
Oh
no, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go, dude.
All right. So I'm an executive at a broker in the United States. We're international, so I'm not actually allowed to give any financial advice. But one of you guys mentioned Ortex and the data, so I can speak on that a little bit just to clarify. So data that's plugged through any broker comes from traditional stock exchanges. So any data that we show on Aries or any data that's shown on any broker that anybody uses comes from just a couple of different sources. And shares can also be bought outside of a traditional exchange that's known as a dark pool. So a lot of the volume that you might see in a specific day that's reported on one end, especially on a service like Ortex, can definitely be skewed. It is something that's, I think you're 100% right. I think somebody mentioned that Ortex data should be taken with a little bit of a grain of salt. That's 100% true. Any
Sure.
data.
Can you tell us a little bit about odd lot orders?
Only 85% of the reported data, and all the data is manipulated in the way it's reporting. Shorts are marked as long, turning a liability into an asset. Naked shorts are rampant, but thankfully CAT system is helping out with that. Synthetic shares are fucking out there 10 times, 20 times the float. We all know this, but you're right. Ortex data is, and that's why we say, but we don't just use it as our only source of information. We just use it as one of our many sources of information, and we got to take it from there, take it with a grain of salt, exactly like you said, because it's only 85% of that reported data, and so much of it is fucked.
Yeah, and I'd love to answer. This is actually my first Twitter Spaces or anything like that. I actually don't know how I joined, but
Odd lot right here. Tell it like it is,
that
brother.
you guys have about data reporting or anything like that. I don't know how often, right, or if you guys do have any questions. But
Not
I'm
true.
kind of.
Can you speak on odd lot orders?
Sure. So
only if routed through a dark pool. If you route through a dark pool, like Webull, for example, Robinhood,
is it true that
then it goes
any order
on less than 100 shares, or even more
contribute
on
to
them.
price action? And two,
it does not properly. Listen to this guy first.
This one's tricky. Okay, maybe. All right, I guess fuck it. Sorry.
No,
odd
it's a good question.
Do odd lots ever get packaged into block orders?
Yeah, they do. So let me explain this to you, for example. So let's say that, I don't know, I'm going to talk on Aries just because that's what I know, right? Let's say we have users in the UK and we have users in Ireland, right? Your one order, your one share doesn't really matter so much. I'm not going to spend the money to push one share to an exchange. It just doesn't make any sense. So the way that it works,
this stream is ahead of him. I apologize.
So any order that's less than 100 typically ends up getting packaged up and then sent to the exchange at one time. So with a company like Robinhood, for example, or any kind of payment for order flow system, this makes it a three-part execution. So you get let's say you're put in an order and you're waiting for it to be pulled with other people, and then your order gets pushed through whatever their intermediary is, whatever their payment for order flow solution is.
Month over month for AMC so far. Who cares if today was red?
Volume, like you were just mentioning, and B, skews in execution, which is why the industry is kind of pushing towards smart routing, which is gets rid of the fact that there's a lot of volume skewing with odd lots, and also gets rid of payment for order flow, which is why Robinhood is scrambling for faster execution. That way they don't have to have as much credit on their balance sheet.
Okay, and then one, I guess, question to put on top of that. Would it be possible to fulfill customers' orders, but then, I guess, set the reporting to the tape to benefit a certain direction in the market?
Okay, so as a broker, it's really not possible. I mean, if I owned millions of shares myself, I could definitely.
This short interest data is from about 2 days ago, a day or two ago, because it's T-2.
Notice like massive orders on there, like $100 million+ orders, and you're like, what the hell? How come this didn't show up, or why are they at markets heavily discounted to the current market price right now? And I think the interesting thing about that is those numbers actually tell a much bigger story than what's publicly available. But as a broker like Robinhood or us or anybody, it's not really possible for us to manipulate data like that.
Brokers,
because
right? Specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can only speak on Aries and on the broker side of things, but it really isn't possible to manipulate data like that on the broker side. But I guess if I owned $300 million worth of shares and I had buddies who were willing to buy those shares from me at whatever price, then I could definitely manipulate blocks. Like if I wanted to sell $150 million worth of BABA, for example, I don't know if you guys remember during the Chinese, we had this like Chinese massive dump over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
You don't sell those blocks on the open market, right? You go directly to large banks or large investors and you sell those blocks to them through dark pools. And that data comes in later, which is why sometimes, the SPY closes at 4:15. A lot of people will be like, how come from 4 o'clock to 4:15, you'll see massive order balancing? And that's usually just due to dark pool orders. I think that's the most apparent way to view skews between day-to-day movement and outside movement.
Okay. Do you have any more questions?
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Because I have a ton, but I want to let other people ask first.
I've just got one question, and I feel like maybe it might help quite a few people. So, bearing in mind, Ortex is like, I don't really pay attention to it. Like, I haven't really found much use from it for quite a while. But looking at the chart volume, looking at like the FTD levels and that sort of thing, when a MOASS is occurring, because Ortex, obviously, we don't really have any strong data sets outside of let's look at the technical analysis side of things, which is not the best in a MOASS. When it does, are you familiar with MOASS, by the way? Because you're a broker, aren't you? So I don't know if you're
no, I'm a nerd too, so I do a lot of internet searching. But yeah, I'm mother of all shorts. Yeah.
Okay, so when mother of all short squeezes is occurring, and in order to actually kind of gauge the progress of the actual short squeeze, like the huge short squeeze, what sort of data are we ideally going to need to look for, since we don't actually have like the expansive data that you guys would have?
Sure. Let me start off by answering that question with the whole point of Aries is I'm a trader. I've been a trader my whole life, and over the next couple of months, we plan to expose a lot of that data to the public. We start with dark pool data and option data at the latter half of this year. But besides that, I can't speak directly on obviously if I think there's going to be a short or any financial advice like that. But let's just assume that there will be, or let's just assume that that's the general consensus here. So the one thing to watch out for is gamma. I think that's something that's pretty important, because gamma tends to lead to any kind of short. During the original rally with GME, that's when we first saw gamma being a major player. So let me explain gamma a little bit. We also have a short video on our YouTube channel if you guys want to watch it. But the short summary is, let's say AMC is trading at, I don't know, $100, right? And the strike prices only go up to $100, the option strike prices. So each option share or each options contract only represents 100 shares, right? So somebody has to neutral hedge when they sell you that contract. Typically, that's a market maker. If I sell you the right to 100 shares, I also have to short 100 shares, or vice versa. If it's a call or a put, I have to short those 100 shares. That way, I'm neutral. That way, I'm not exposed to market volatility, right? I'm just making money selling you the option or making money on commission. And the cool thing about gamma is that as the strikes are set at 100. So if AMC goes
gamma
over
squeezing,
100,
baby,
you have to issue more contracts, right? The market makers have to issue more contracts, and with those contracts, they also have to buy more shares to they have to buy more shares in order to stay delta neutral, and that leads to what's known as a gamma squeeze. It's actually what led to that massive AMC squeeze all the way to the 500 mark. But I think the really primary driver would be to take a look at options data and to take a look at the gamma data, because as we tend to rise quickly, let's just assume that you're squeezing and you're rising quickly, the more money that flows into these out of the money calls or close to at the end of the chain calls, the more that you can expect will be printed, if that makes any sense at all. I don't know if that was confusing, right? But that's I would say is the main indicator of how long something is going to squeeze.
Right, that makes sense. I mean, until MOASS actually occurs, obviously there is the concern of what's actually going on for before that, because they're basically manipulating it down below the max pain point. So it's kind of like, okay, so at what point do you actually step in and obviously you can't take that, but
I'm just throwing the question out there, like no answers required. What point do you get where you're like, okay, now we can do options? Because until then, we're basically throwing, to some degree, not everybody, some other people know more about options, but to some degree, we might as well be putting money in mail and just posting it to Citadel. You know what I mean? Because they're just knocking it below the max paying point.
Sure. Let me give, and I'm sorry I think somebody was just about to answer something, but let me give a brief rundown on options, just a quick kind of point. And we also have a video on this on our YouTube channel, but you can also look for value in options. So if an option doesn't necessarily need to be something that's out of the money. Remember, an options contract represents 100 shares. And if you multiply the current strike price minus the price that the shares are trading at, you can actually figure out how much you're paying extrinsically. So you can figure out the how much you're actually, the bullshit value, essentially, extrinsic value that you're paying the market. And as long as you stick to a low percentage of extrinsic value, typically it's going to lead to a success over time. But with options, I think that a lot of people get generally confused because they're just something that's now beginning to gain popularity. Like Robinhood made them gamified, and actually Ares is the first in many of the countries that were. So we're in 128 countries, and in almost all of the countries that we've launched in, we're the only commission-free options broker. So I think that as more education comes into that field, that more people are going to begin to understand reading value in options. But Gamma is something that's super simple, man. You could like if you open up any brokerage, if you open up even Ares, you should be able to find, or soon you'll be able to look at the delta on the contracts, the gamma on the contracts, and it's simple, man. If the last contract is 100 and the thing is trading at 101, you better believe that they're going to issue contracts at 105 and 110 and 120, and that's the best indicator of a gamma squeeze. And typically, a gamma squeeze is the best indicator of a continuous like run. If that
I
makes
think
sense.
also what he was touching on was trading options on AMC isn't like trading options in general. We see a lot of pumps on Monday with IV crushing throughout the week. So they're just, like it's just max pain after max pain after max pain. Like you'll never see that on blue chips, right? You'll never see someone pump up Microsoft at the beginning of the week and then crush IV all week. So we're seeing a lot of unusual options trading strategies for someone who with a basic understanding of options, but we're having like more experienced traders come out who have seen these patterns. And so people now have kind of learned to wait for the IV to drop, but also wait to like the bottom part of the trend so you get in at a good price and when IV's low.
Yeah.
So I think like in a lot of ways how you're telling us how you handle trades helps, but for us, brokers and market makers are like the two pieces that retail's trying to figure out and maneuver. But yeah, so like you were saying how odd lots could be packed. I don't know if you can answer this, but I just, for everyone in here, the theory of our market makers and orders. So if they can pack odd lots into blocks, then I don't think the theory, well, it's not a theory, FINRA's charged them with it before. Since they're a bona fide market maker, they're legally allowed to naked short to us. So what they could be doing is fulfilling our orders, but then reporting it in a way that benefits the trades or the options chain.
Yeah. So one thing, I mean, I'm trying to answer the questions to the best of my ability, but one thing I want to touch on with that in regard to that question is there's a large broker in the United Kingdom called Trading 212, and they lend out shares. So if a user on Trading 212 buys shares of GameStop, then yes, they could lend out those shares to somebody who's trying to short them. But this is a practice that's drastically changing. And eventually it's going to be taken care of. Now, as far as to how much of that volume is actually being reported in the short, I really don't know, right? Like, and it would be really hard to calculate because it's something that you would have to take a look at. You would have to know exactly how much of the volume is actual users. You would have to know exactly how much of the volume is an institution. And you can get rough estimates on that, but knowing exactly how many of the shares are being lent out, like I can speak for on Ares, your shares are your shares, right? So I can tell you that up to that much, but I don't know how many of these brokers are actually lending out shares, right? And if you wanted to actually sit down and make a calculation of that, I'm willing to bet
you're looking at Heikin-Ashi charts of AMC. This is basically fractals and fractals levels. And I'm going to have to stop him right there on this SpaceCall for a minute while he's talking about odd lots, because that shit's kind of a little much. As you can see from the fractals, this is based off of Fibonacci. This is all Fibonacci lines and levels. And this is the implied volatility. Excuse me one second. Sorry, couldn't hear. So what you're looking at here is the way that the price action's been rising and following that current trend right there. And what ends up happening is that it follows this, and when it comes back down to the bottom of the channel, like over here it didn't even make it to the bottom, it retraces back up within this window. And every time it reaches the bottom, it tends to go much higher towards the back top of the channel, which you can't even see here. So on this one, let me see if I can find the other picture. Yeah, because this is where the tweet where my friend RK here was posting them up. But at the top of this channel, the high number is around $625. So potentially we could be looking at anything between $52 and $625 next week. But that doesn't mean we will. It doesn't mean we won't. I'm not entirely sure. That's just based off of the fractals. Let's go back to the conversation.
Reported as a dark pool trade, and over the next, don't quote me on this, but in about 6 weeks, we plan to have that data on Aries. So it is conducive to take a look at that data, like in your case. But like I said before, there are regulations on this stuff, man. So it can't be like, you can't like sell half the company and not report it. You know what I mean? Like, but you can definitely, like, you're a retail guy. So let's say you own $100,000 worth of AMC, right? Of course, $100 million position is massive, right? But if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, right, it's not as much as people think. And like I said before, I do think it's about 1 to 5% of the total volume. And in some cases, like with the Chinese downturn over the last couple of months, you would see as much as billions of dollars worth of BABA get sold in the UK and then not reported for 24 hours. Like, what do you think is going to happen if you don't report a $2 billion sale and then 2 days later somebody finds out, right? And then you report it 2 days later, it's just going to create more downturn. So you're 100% right on that. You can definitely like delay how long you report things if they're between the UK and the United States. And in the United States also, you can route orders outside of the US. I just want you to know that. So if like you have Goldman
like
US
intraday.
Yeah. So if you have Goldman in the US and MasterCard in the US, and you don't want that to go through, like, and let's say Goldman is selling to MasterCard, well, it's easy. You just send it from Goldman USA to Goldman UK, and then you send it to from Goldman UK to MasterCard USA. And what happens is instead of now being on the open market and instantly being reported, it will get reported 24 hours later, for example. And those are still tracked, though. Those are called dark pool orders because they're still routed through an exchange. It's just not an exchange that's tracked by the major markets. So you don't see it on platforms like Ortex or Aries or TradingView or whatever, because it's not a typical exchange, and that data costs a ton of money to actually show. But like I said, over the next couple of weeks, Aries will begin to show dark pool orders. And there are a lot of services right now that do show dark pool orders for like monthly fees and whatnot. But I don't think it's worth paying a monthly fee for.
Oh my God, dude. Like, I'm going to preface this with saying I'm 100% speculating, but that has to be what our fucking market makers are doing. Like, they're rearranging buy pressure and selling pressure to where it benefits them.
For real, this is like everything is so connected. Like, one falls, the other one will follow, man. Everything is so connected.
Oh my God, swing for all my older people.
This is why there's this professor from Cambridge, because I read a lot of books, even though because everybody doesn't know I'm just 25 years old. Yeah, I hold a master's in economics, but I'm just 25 years old. I spent all my high school time reading economics books. Yeah, it sounds boring, but it was pretty beautiful. And all these professors, they were like, markets needs to be less efficient. And it's true. They're so connected and so diversified that we can see one bump.
For those who are asking, I got $625 from the top of the fractal level that we were looking at on the next upward turn. If you take a look here, this is where we are on that fractal level, zoomed in, at least we're right about where we are here currently. And we're due, as we hit the bottom of it here, it ran up to this next level, which was what took us to $73. And then through this action here, we're at the bottom of the level here, and now we're set to go up to the top level. And you can't see it from here, but this is 140 here, this is 100, 120, 140, 160, 180, etc. And it keeps going up. And I'll get that in another picture, but the top of the next level is somewhere between, it's either going to be around 400 to 625 from the bottom of the top of the next level to the top of the next level. So that's just what's showing on the fractals. I don't have any idea if that's going to be the case or if that's going to be true. That's just what this chart is showing us. And it's this fractal cycles theory from the future rollovers, the semi-annual, and every three-month future and credit default swap rollover theory that is called IMM dates. Go check it out on Wikipedia or Google it on Investopedia. International money market dates.
DTC CEO statement. Vlad said that they had to put up X billion and then they got it.
Nah, man. Vlad is just saying that because he doesn't want to talk about how
right.
dilutive their last investment
what I'm
round
saying
was.
is it's on record in the congressional hearing. I watched all three of them, and he said that who does he go to post collateral with? The clearinghouse.
DTCC.
That he said the amount was in the billions, and then the third hearing they asked the DTC CEO, and he was like, "No, we cleared them by 11 a.m. and we lowered it to something under $1 billion." I forget what it was. So he lied about the time window he had and the amount.
Yeah, he was talking to Elon Musk about that, and he actually said it on when it was being recorded. I can't believe how stupid it was. He said that they lowered it to 700 million, and it was originally 3 billion or something like that. And it was like, okay, you're not actually allowed to do that, but okay.
Yeah, but and then also the buy button was gone for a few days, but he got cleared at 11 a.m. the first day they ran into that issue. I don't understand how Congress did not fucking catch that.
It was started off at 3 billion, and then they basically begged and pleaded, and they got it dropped to 900 million. But during that time, they actually raised capital for Robinhood at a pretty horrible valuation. I think it was a little bit of a step down from their last round, but they were scrambling to raise money to post that, because had that gone through, Robinhood would not be in a good position, right? They would have had to file for bankruptcy.
Perfect timing. I feel like this question needs to be asked. Okay, so Robinhood, say, I get the feeling that the vast majority of investors have moved away from Robinhood for obvious reasons, but anybody who's left over, if Robinhood got shorted into the ground, at a very, very convenient time, for example, would the people holding shares of AMC and Game suddenly go poof?
So there are two kinds of holders. There is a holder on record, so a client that owns the shares on record, and then there is a client that owns the shares through Robinhood as an intermediary until they're on record 2 or 3 days later. So I'm gonna, for simplicity's sake, usually it's trading day +2 until you're a holder of record. As long as your shares weren't lent out or whatever, right? Let's just assume that that's not the case. But Robinhood doesn't do much lending. But most people who are on Robinhood, if they own it for 3 days or more, those are still your shares. They're recorded with the exchanges. They're still your shares. And no, they will not just go poof. They'll just be transferred to wherever you want them to go to if Robinhood just goes poof. But anybody who holds the shares intermediary, then yeah, Robinhood would be claiming bankruptcy and essentially would either have to... I don't know, man. That's never happened before, right? You're talking about at this point, Robinhood would need that would need to be $20 billion worth of liquidity that they were short on. But Vlad is pretty dead set. I mean, they just hired their first couple lobbyists at Robinhood, pretty dead set at removing T+2 and making it T+0, so trading day +0, which means that trades are settled at the end of the day, which will completely eliminate the chances of Robinhood going poof because of marginal issues.
Joe, 6 executive from Evergrande just redeemed investment products in advance. Motherfuckers.
What happened?
6 executive from Evergrande redeem investment products in advance. Motherfuckers.
What do you mean redeemed them?
They cashed whatever they hold before everything collapsed.
Of course they did. Some people are fucking disgusting. Like, what the fuck?
But
like,
you know, I don't see China as the country going lenient on shit like that.
Yeah, I don't
unless
expect
they're
them
part
either,
of the
but
Communist Party.
they have morality, like for real,
Like I'd be more scared to commit financial crimes in China than I would be here.
Oh yeah, they I think some business like a few years ago did something really wrong, and he actually just got executed in front of everybody.
Jesus.
That's fucked up.
Yeah. Okay.
Look what happened to Jack Ma, man. He just disappeared. He just...
Yeah, he was talking a little too much like a Westerner at his TED Talks and shit.
Sorry guys, I got somebody who is requesting speaking. I don't know if somebody can step down so that person can.
I'll step down, man.
I just wanted to jump up.
What is your YouTube website?
I was gonna jump off anyway.
What?
So
you're talking to me?
I don't know anybody. I mean, so I can see what question he has.
It's 4 o'clock in the morning for me, so I'll leave it. Thanks very much, guys, and it's been awesome.
Pleasure.
Have a nice day.
All right, man. Take care. You too.
Cece, now you can talk. Ryan, whatever his name, Ryan Alling all day.
All right, guys, I'm going to take off. I really appreciate you guys letting me answer some questions. It sucks I'm not on my personal profile. I accidentally joined on here, but hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Hey, Aries, before you leave,
yeah,
what is your YouTube?
It's the Aries YouTube, just at Trade Aries.
Just follow me, and then I will share your profile so people can.
Oh shoot! Okay, man. I just followed you right now. But over the next couple of months, we plan to push out options flow data, dark pool data. So hopefully we can get some of you guys on there. You know, it's going to be free as long as you fund your account with a penny. So don't think you need to switch or anything.
Perfect.
Just put a penny in the account. You'll have access to the data.
Thanks for the info you
hopefully we'll talk soon. See you guys. Enjoy your night.
Yeah,
see you guys. Enjoy your night.
Well, people, just to give you a short summary, these guys from Evergrande, and just to give you, just to prepare you all mentally, 128 banks and are involved.
They might throw a Hail Mary if this is going to affect the people on the other side.
Yo, what's up, fam? I got to kind of put a pause on right there. We are getting a little off topic here. I wanted to kind of get back into these real quick while we're on the subject. Hang on one second. All right, got too many streams going at once. My apologies. This white line that our guy over here, Dave, came up with on his charts are the same line practically that we have marked over here. Okay, it's the IV, and they both come up with their own separate, and this basically here portion is a zoomed in portion of this little bottom part of the candle that started poking out, because this is on a monthly time frame, and this is on like a 6 month time frame, 3 month time frame, 1 2 3 4 5 6 month time frame, whereas this one's on a 1 month time frame. So this is zoomed in portion of what you're seeing right here, and this white line is pretty much the equivalent of this yellow line. So we got some fun shit going on when you got completely different people on opposite sides of the community coming up with the same fucking Same charts and same due diligence. It looks good. That's bullish as fuck. Different TA from different people with the same outcome looks nice. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but that's pretty fucking bullish if you ask me. Let me get this thing back going here.
The very top office floor in their Italian suits going, all right, guys, that's what we're going to do. We're going to hedge China with AMC and GME, and no one's going to see it coming.
Correct. It's broke below the trend line, so it's a little bit lower. That means it's primed for a bounce up. That means it's being manipulated below that trend line even further than it was before.
BlackRock and Vanguard, they're fucking smart. Like, for real. That people, bro, I don't know where they find them, but they're...
The DTCC is filing for using blockchain for trading stocks in the future. Pilot program launching in 2022. I just want everybody to know. This is the kind of change that Ape Nation and people are making in the stock market. We're making such positive change that the DTCC and the SEC are literally implementing blockchain in order to be able to properly track and sell shares to prevent this naked short bullshit, synthetic share bullshit that we're currently seeing that's going to crash the stock market and economy because of the over leveraging and the greed from these fucking banks.
Was the fucking meme stock, and no one would think that that was the case, right? Because remember how we're talking about like other professionals kind of don't want other professionals thinking that they've gone crazy, but what if that's the fucking play? Oh, there's JB.
Oh, sorry, JB. I just saw your request.
Raise your hand, JB.
Yeah, man. Raise your hand, man. We're in school here.
You might be having Wi-Fi issues. But yeah, that's so crazy to think about that. Like after CNBC's like, these idiots buying AMC and GME.
Sorry, JB. I think I authorized to talk. I'm not sure. Can you speak, JB, or maybe I have to?
There he is.
Oh, now you're.
Hey guys, I just got a question. When moon?
Well, soon, bro. Soon. Just hold tight.
I just want to say
it's gonna be a rough ride.
Yeah, real shit. Just I want to say something about that Aries guy. Just thinking like safety wise. There's been a lot of random people and services that have popped out of the woodwork over the course of this. So while he did come off as really helpful, and I do believe a lot of the things he said was genuine, and he did confirm some of our suspicions, but he said he's in over 100 countries. I've never heard of him. I'm not saying they're bad, but just if you look at the service, approach it with a grain of salt, read the agreement, try to verify who their market makers are, blah, blah, blah. You know, the whole DD thing.
Real shit.
Yeah, that's why I was excited to see what's going on.
Real shit. Yeah. You're smart with your money, man.
That's right, Casey. Settlement for rolling over futures is next Wednesday. They'll be settling between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Correct.
I mean, hey, if it's true, then sweet. But you know,
I'm such a bargain, right?
Personally,
yeah, good point, Casey. Casey mentions there'll be T+2 if they did them after hours today. Won't show till Wednesday of next week. Absolutely great point, brother. That's why I love Ape Nation. So many freaking smart people out there. Bring your freaking wrinkle brains.
Retail itself, like he deserves it, man. He busts his ass off. He does. I'm sure he says he works his ass off.
I'm not gonna lie. I had Unusual Whales and one other popular competitor. I'm not gonna name them just for the sake. The competitor is more expensive, but the competitor's not really involved. Like they already have their customers and stuff. But every time I've needed anything, I've gotten either a message or a tweet back within an hour max. So I canceled the other people and I just kept Unusual.
This right here, you guys. I'm gonna stop that conversation right now for a minute. Let me turn this shit down. Again, what we got over here, this is a cup and handle by the John Holowak. He posted the AMC cup from March. Okay, March through May. Lasted 61 days. 61 days for this pattern to form. Now, this algorithmic trading is affected by the way that these guys do place shorts and sell orders and route them with their algorithm, and outside of it as well, directly through dark pools for buying pressure, and directly to the lit exchange with their buying pressure through their algorithm. So they are doing it in multiple ways. But at the end of the day, you have these ice picks, I like to call them. I got that from Astro because he calls them hatchets. And so I call them ice picks because it looks like you're climbing a mountain. Here's the handle, and this is the metal part of the pick that sticks in the mountain. You're holding it here, and then the next ice pick goes up here, and then here it's like you're descending the mountain because now you've got the ice pick itself here and the handle coming backwards because now you got to go back the mountain. You got to descend it backwards because of gravity, right? Same thing with the stock. It's like it's getting pulled down because of gravity to zero because they're shorting it. So and then here it turns around and you're climbing the mountain, and then it totally pulls it one more time. And on this large run up we had, it was one massive, several days we had taking us upwards to form the large portion of the ice pick. And we're seeing the same thing here. You saw a large, which would be, this here. This right here is July to September, a 68-day cup and handle that precedes it because the algorithm runs in patterns because of the way that computers use binary, because the old computers can only read in binary. They only know math. So what's going on here is it's the same thing. Same thing. You've got another ice pick here, 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 and then now it's going back up the mountain this way, this way, this way, this way. And it's at the point where it's reached the last one up the mountain before the next massive peak, because these lines all coincide with the patterns. They can't just magically bring it down further. They already spent $170 million today. They've lost $4 billion to keep it at this level this year alone. $4 billion to keep AMC at this price. That's the only reason it's down here. And they've got to buy that back. And it's a lot more expensive to buy that back. To buy back all those, cover all those positions and close out all those positions. Because eventually it's got to happen. And what this is showing us is that the next leg up of this pattern here is a tag upwards, another retracement, which we're seeing here, and then a straight fucking shot. So we're looking to see several days. This is more than one day here on this. Then you see a couple of weeks of a super high increase. And as you can see, this chart, back then it was in the $14 range and it went up to $73. Right now it's at the $44.20 range today. And this bitch is going to go way, way above where you're seeing on this $88 level here, is what this chart is telling us. That's not financial advice. I'm just reading this chart and interpreting the only way that I know how, and you do it however you like. So I'm saying we're going to be filthy fucking rich. Cheers, Ape Nation. We're going to be filthy fucking rich. Offshore accounts don't mean shit anymore, really, because there's new initial margin requirements of $250,000 a piece. It used to be $10,000 a piece. So that's 25 times increase. And on top of that, the new Phase 5 regulations indicate that these any assets and liabilities held in offshore holding accounts, shell companies, are going to still be maintained under the same fiduciary control, ownership, which would be motherfucking Kenny Griffin, and Citadel. So they're not going to be able to pretend like it belongs to a shell company, because at the end of the day, these new regulations state that money is still Ken Griffin's. So fuck you, Ken Griffin. I want my fucking money. Let's go back into this conversation. They're starting to get back into some good stuff.
Yep. That's crazy. That how they're $300 billion in debt.
Yeah.
But remember, Davey, like every country was growing at 1%. Every single country in the first world, China was growing at 9%. So all these people was, for 12 years, they were making business in China because it was profitable. But they were making ghost buildings. So right now they are all these white elephants are backfiring. and now they have like they also receive, I don't know how much cash it was, like they already sold all these properties and they haven't even started constructing them, building them. So right now we have that problem too. So you cannot sell that based on the fact that it doesn't exist.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's a big bubble. It's a COVID that is slowly but little introducing in other markets.
I think COVID sped up all the problems because of like the aid from the government, and most of that money went to corporations, and we all know what corporations love to do with huge amounts of money.
Dude, that's an understatement. COVID, the CERB payouts in Canada here alone is insane, man. You have no idea the amount of debt we're in when interest rates and that start going back up. And like, people got to think, like, there's a lot of people I know personally
Yeah.
that like are buying homes at like a way higher mortgage than they can afford because interest rates are really, really low right now. But when those interest rates start to creep back up, they're fucked.
Yep.
Simple.
Yeah, we actually had a long ass debate about that earlier. I'm glad you brought that up again.
Well, dude, it's writing on the wall. It's just people that aren't in like the economic background, and just look at a mortgage and just like trying to, they act on impulse and get into the market, and then they don't look at the long lasting factors that to come here. Like it's only the beginning of that. You're gonna pay it through tax, right? It's fucked. It's gonna be fucked.
Yeah, I think it
I
is.
think like us as normal people, our default is to take things at like a first person or point of view approach.
Yep.
And I think this whole thing has taught a lot of people to like step back and like, what's the bigger picture?
Real shit. And like sitting at home and like people twiddling their thumbs and like having a lot more to focus on, rather than being distracted by an 8-hour shift every single day. It's really opened up a lot of people's eyes of the backstory of things going on in one, the economy, two, just the world as a whole, and three, and unfortunately a very stronger awareness towards politics. And the backings of those factors. And now I think that the average citizen, middle class, low class, whatever, even some middle high class, is
Look at that, Ape Nation. Holy shit. So much love.
that's going on day to day that people just weren't paying attention to.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, hey, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah, that's the other thing we talked about how like politics,
Look at
more
this.
specifically
So many people in
has
here
created like literally
supporting.
a 50-50 divide.
Fuck yeah.
And ever since
Listening, learning,
Obama got in office,
discussing,
everyone's been at each other's
fucking
throats
beautiful.
over like bipartisan issues that no one's even looked at like the government to keep tabs on.
And then
them
hundreds
and,
of
like,
people
keep
on
that
this
in
YouTube
check. We've been
chat.
too busy like arguing
Incredible
amongst ourselves.
live chat.
And that's
we got
exactly
thousands of
what
people
they want
between
to do.
Twitter and
Not
YouTube
even
all
really
around the
just
world
expand it.
coming
When
together.
I was bringing up politics, I wasn't really more wanting to discuss politics, because I think that's something that always never really should be discussed, because it always ends up becoming into a controversy with people generally. But it's just it's more of the big concept was, it's just like the people waking up and realizing the shit going on behind closed doors, because they have more attention towards it now, because you have time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But to like build on that, like look at what happened to what's his name? Who's that guy who did all the WikiLeaks?
Edward Snowden.
No.
Julian Assange.
So like all these people reported things that our government was doing wrong, and they crucified them. Like they're trying to set an example of people who are speaking.
Richard, I think that AMC going to start showing football games on the theater is incredible, and you're going to be able to, as of today, they announced that you can now see NFL football games every Sunday at AMC theaters. I'm fucking pumped. I saw a UFC fight at AMC, and it was incredible.
It is the concept of retail growing in strength, people learning, knowledge growing, people taking independence in their own hands and financial wealth in their own hands, and people becoming educated to further and better their own life, and also the generations behind them to support their families, and also seeing the passion come out of people. I love it. I love seeing the passion and the strength that comes behind that in in day-to-day processes that through space calls and stuff, and hearing new spectrums, outlooks, knowledgeable factors. It's truly amazing, and meeting new people. I love it. It's that's one of the big reasons why I love being involved in the community itself. Is just to talk, shoot the shit, and hearing the passion and the drive, and people wanting to make a difference in their lives and their families and their communities.
Yeah,
and echo on that, I'm thinking that the 2008 crisis, economic downturn, opened the eyes of a lot of people, and with this pandemic thing going down, and with the whole government bailout of these big companies, and then turn around and use that money instead of investing it back into the community, they invested it back into the company to boost their share price up and also get bonuses. I think that left a very bad taste in everybody's mouth.
Real shit. No, 100%. Like I'd even claim that as an understatement. The 2008, I'd call it a crisis, was absolutely fucked. Like, it was so fucked on the way that people were treated in that situation, and how big guys were walking away with big checks, and it was just a classic example of the middle class and the lower class sinking while the rich stayed rich. And it's just completely fucked up, corrupt, and it was awful.
Anyone remember reading Adobit's pieces on like Citadel has no clothes and all that stuff? And when I read it back then, I was like, holy shit, this is kind of crazy. And over the last few months, like, things have started to click. And he wasn't 100% on everything, but I think his general research and approach, it's like a lot of it's coming true.
And DD on the subject of whatever, even the market in general, and then like seeing that DD kind of transpire into the truthful aspect, and somebody that was going out on a whim and found out certain things that took effort to obtain. Like, I love seeing that too. It's awesome because it just shows that the retail is just growing, and that the information is being achieved day by day in regards to little factors.
And not only that, like, the information is out there. It's just the amount of people actually going out to get it and seeing that is giving more people incentive to hold their shares. And
I think it's empowering retail to realize that we're not dumb money. Like, sure, we don't have office experience, but you can learn, and you can get to a point where you can read the market to a certain extent, right?
100%.
So yeah, I mean, if some dude on Reddit is painted the economic picture 6 months in advance just by him burying himself and having a few contacts, like, that's insane when you conceptualize that. Like, this is something that an exec at Goldman should be coming out and like speaking to the government about, and fucking JP and all these guys. Those are the guys who are supposed to be our economic barometers. But then you have fucking Powell making money on municipal bond buybacks and shit.
Yeah, that's
like,
fucking horrible.
No, but the thing is, they're making the money. They don't want to interrupt that process. They don't want to interrupt the money going to their shareholders and to the top execs. That's where the disconnect is at right there. They should, yes, you're right. They should have been telling the politicians and the market or the regulators what's going on, but they were making too much money.
Yeah, no, I'm not contesting that. I'm just saying that the fact that retail was able to release that level of analysis and research comparable to like investment banks, like, it's so impressive and like empowering from a normal person, quote unquote, point of view.
Yeah,
I
one thing
totally
I've
concur.
always, I was gonna say one thing that I always grew up on too. My dad's a pretty wealthy guy, but he came from absolutely nothing. He was homeless, and when he was younger, when he was a teenager, and he always raised me on that intelligence isn't defined by a job or a suit. It never is. So don't ever let that persona. That is a human. It's a stigma that's been created that a job and a suit will define your intelligence and your success, and that's not at all true. You can become successful from nothing. Anybody can. It's just taking the right path. And the biggest thing is is even successful people make mistakes all
Tap,
the
I'm
time.
definitely coming
It's
to
just
Portugal
making the
for
right
holiday after
mistakes
MOASS.
and moving in the right path. That's the only thing.
Learning from
And you're going to
them,
go through ups and downs, right? Simple as that. It just takes time, and that's what I'm seeing though with the retail, and that's what I was trying to get at is with the retail is it's people moving in the right path. Yeah, it might be little steps. Some days may feel slower. You might take a step back, but it's moving in the right direction. People are learning. It's growing. The effort is expanding, and it's becoming stronger. And you can see the passion, and I it fuels me because it gets me fired up, honestly. Because I'm seeing so many people trying to make an effort and a change in their own lives, and that just makes me happier than ever.
regardless of their backgrounds or ethnicity or their political views, anything like that. We're all in this for the same reason, and that's what just adds on to the power itself.
Those shit.
You know what's
Yeah,
funny?
I share with the
you
group
know,
here. My dad used to tell me as a kid. I didn't understand until I started having kids myself. But he always would say, to support the family, I would dig in cesspools to make sure that y'all had what you needed. Didn't understand what it was until started having my own family, having the kids. So you're absolutely right, JB. What making those mistakes, going out there and making those mistakes, being willing to fall down on your face and getting yourself up and learning from those mistakes is what makes a person who they are.
Real shit. That's it. That's exactly it.
I'm not gonna lie. I grew up in like a fairly comfortable household, and I wish I didn't, because I have friends who've grown up in like Baltimore City, and if you guys have watched The Wire, you know what that's like. And there's this like grit and drive that I feel like I wasn't completely exposed to. I mean, I'm fine now. I'm comfortable, but there's just when you come from a financial situation that's not great. I don't know how to explain it. It's something that I see in my friends that came from that situation that I don't see in myself.
It's in everybody, no matter what background, bro. In all honesty,
right.
No matter
But
what.
like when you grow up and you're comfortable, you have this knowing of, look, I just need to do well in school and get a decent job, and then I'll climb. But some of these guys don't even have that, right? Like you said, that rich guy you knew was homeless.
No, my dad.
Oh yeah, right. Homeless. Sorry.
His mom died of cancer, and then his dad was fucked up, and then he was fucked. But
so I'm assuming your dad has some like real inner fire in terms of like getting what he feels like he needs to get or something. You know what I mean? Just that like fight to climb up. Huh? What?
He doesn't fuck around.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So and just pivoting off that with this whole thing, the internet joke of you live in your mom's basement. Well, after this, there's going to be a bunch of people in their mom's basement that know how to make a shit ton of money from sitting through this and
Real
learn.
shit, though. That's
There's just so much irony in like this whole movement, and in like a positive way, and I love every bit of it.
I would love to be
I would love to be a fly on Rich Greenfield's wall right now.
Well, that's it. Is it Francesco? How do I pronounce your name? Sorry.
No, it's Francisco, but I
also
say Francesco because I'm Italian too, so that's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fanculo.
That's a great point that you bring up too, though, of the stock as well. Okay, so that brings in a whole other sentiment, right? Like in regards to the 2008, and then also like say Toys R Us, like they're with companies, there's emotional sentiment on the companies. Like, and one thing about AMC, and I think a lot of people can attest to that, and people have heard it 1,000 times, and I know it sounds like kind of storybook now, but like the concept of a movie theater, like I'm Canadian, I don't have an AMC around me, but I love the movie theaters in general. Like, and in regards to that, like when you see a company being maliciously taken down into bankruptcy in a time that really was out of their control, like I think that's like I thought it was bullshit. Like I honestly did. Like, and especially when I'm looking at like the establishment that AMC provides in regards to movie theaters, and like it seems way better than the movie theaters that we have around me. In all honesty, I'm just like, why the fuck is this company going down? In all fairness, like when you're looking at even the fundamentals of it, like it was struggling, but then the retail brought it back, and the retail is bringing it out, and like that dilution did help a little bit, and getting that cash equity, it did help a bit.
JB, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
no,
totally
that's all,
with you.
man. Yeah,
You
go
know,
for it.
I have not been to a movie theater in 23 years. I've just started going back this last second weekend. I can guess
Yes, sir.
AMC, but it goes back to, you know, I'm a craftsman or was a craftsman guy. That's what my dad brought me up on. It was the best tool in the world. I still have Craftsman tools, but I will not buy another Craftsman tool. One, because it's made in China. It's not the quality it used to be. But two, the guy, the CEO, was a hedge fund guy or a vulture capitalist when he dismantled the company and then bought the Sears Craftsman brand for his own self. And he was running the company. He bankrupted the company to put money in his own pocket. That's the kind of crap that I just can't stand. And seeing Jeffrey Giraffe go down, I, I just couldn't do it. Could not see AMC, could not let them go down,
I
or
hear you,
GME.
man.
Yeah, like I think a
Yeah, no,
company that's struggling.
people can be rich. Yeah,
Nah,
see,
you
that's
go,
the thing.
JD.
As much as there's rich people, like there's good rich people. Like there is people that are rich that have morals, but then there's also rich people that are fucking corrupt as fuck. Like, and that's the thing. Even with middle class people, you have good people, and you also have people that are really fucked up. Same shit, right? And yeah, when people, and then when the guys that are super rich are really corrupt and shit, yeah, it not only does it have the public eye, but it's just completely wrong because look at is there's so many people that I wouldn't say are I would say struggling or just trying to make ends meet and just provide for their family or even have that extra few hours in the week to spend with their children and things, and they're trying to scrape by. Meanwhile, then you see these corrupt practices going in place, and people making the amount of money that they shouldn't even have to obtain in a lifetime or two over certain things that just seem so wrong. It's just, yeah, it's backwards, man. I agree with you 100%. It is. It's truly backwards. And it's changing over time. And it won't ever, I don't know if it'll ever solve, but the retail waking up, it's making a difference because people are becoming more educated and learning day to day. And it's becoming a true blessing for me personally to be involved with everybody here because I learn something new every single day from every single person I talk to, no matter what. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, you can't beat the hive mind. It's so scary when you think about it. Like we're going against theoretically one of the top governments in the world if they're really involved in the reverse repos as deep as some of the stuff we've been seeing. But even like the most powerful banks, the most powerful like market makers, and they keep slipping up against this like army of normal people, but they put their brains together.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, sorry for going on rambles, guys. I know I can do that sometimes. I wasn't trying to come in here and ramble on and on. But yeah, it's good chatting with you guys. I like talks like this. It's great.
Yeah. No, your rambles are good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Thanks, Randall.
So, and you guys got any more crazy DD you guys were talking about when I was listening? You guys were talking about some crazy shit. I liked listening to hear about that.
We're just talking about like economy outlook and then this real estate. I don't know if it's happening in Canada, but in the States, BlackRock, I don't know if Vanguard's doing it. And then have you heard of Zillow? Like Zillow.com?
No, I haven't, to be honest.
It's like a website you can find houses on, and they're basically a middleman. They just take a cut from either the real estate agent, but now these companies have got so big to the point where they're buying houses.
Okay.
So a lot of like the housing market
You
was on
guys,
fire
I'm
during
telling you,
COVID.
you're right on the ball with it all.
Sorry?
You're right on the ball with what you're saying.
Who is that?
Thank
No,
you.
it's
Christopher, I think.
Oh,
I can't see.
just spot
I can't see
on.
the person
Exactly
talking.
what the world's doing. So, like this.
Yeah, so basically in the States, all the big money is like buying up the housing market, and the idea is that post MOASS or economic downturn, us as a nation is going to start shifting to like a rental market rather than homeowners, and being a homeowner is like a staple in the States. That's why a lot of people come here to like own their own house on their own land. But
Well, in Australia, Tasmania, we're just well, that's where I'm from. It's like affordable, still just. You know what I mean? So in America, you go through so much hell, you guys over there. So that to get to benefits or anything, you know, you just have to fight for everything.
Yeah, dude, I was in Australia in 2019 for like 2 months. You guys take care of your citizens so
really?
well. It's so crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's beautiful, eh? I got 13 acres, so it's peace. You know, you just think in life. I just want to help people though with the land though. Now, you know, that's what all we can do as people. You know, help others. That's I figure it.
Yeah, for sure.
I got a question. How long do you guys think that the downturn on the economy is going to be impacting the U.S. economy, and when the signs of recovery would be?
Oh, Francisco, you go first. You're the
What
economist.
happened? I was answering some message. What did I miss?
He's asking if the economy does go down, how long do we think it's going to last for?
It really depends how much we decrease, because just to put it on simple terms, we have to see how the financial system reacts, but everything is falling into dominoes.
Exactly, it's a chain effect.
Just to give you a small idea of what we're talking, Goldman
Thanks a lot,
Sachs
Randall. I
has
appreciate that.
predicted
I'll switch over to
U.S.
it.
GDP
I'm
is
just kind of
basically
fucking goofing
20
around over here
trillion,
because I really want to see what's inside
so
Virtue's
you will see just Goldman
portfolios and
Sachs
shit.
can destroy the
Because
whole
I haven't
financial
looked into
system,
Virtue
and
as
we're
much as I
talking all
looked
banks.
into Citadel.
It's bigger than us, all of us.
So I think to pivot on that,
it will take 5-10 years maybe. I mean, it depends how much we decrease. Might decrease 20% GDP on GDP. I don't know. I mean, it really depends on the losses. 20%.
Well, didn't I see that your guys' GDP is down 41%?
I think growth was estimated to go down 41%.
Yeah.
No. So are you talking about the Atlanta Fed report?
Yes.
Yeah, it decreased 1%. It was 7% and it went down to 31. I mean 3% something. So yeah, but they are not expecting any collapse of the financial system. So that's what I'm saying. Also with TA, I mean, we provide assumptions based on present time, but when economic factors plays in, or for instance an earthquake, you have to readjust everything, because now you have losses based on the earthquake. So that's what's not expected on any analysis. That's the thing.
It's organic factors coming in, unpredictable variables.
And I don't blame, like I say all the time on the space calls, I don't blame TA people. They do a great job, but obviously when they do the TA, they assume a lot of things. For instance, people are risk averse. You sell when it's high, you sell when it's low. Or for instance, the market will behave constant. Players will play over time. Like they will keep playing. Nothing will happen. That's an assumption. But you're not assuming that tomorrow the whole financial system collapses and everything collapses and the whole game is over. So TA works under certain conditions, but then when you have external factors, it's game changer.
Yeah, and that's the thing is when you do TA, I think that's the difference between, like, say, somebody that's just doing, say, if you're focusing on a stock and you're just solely using TA, I think that's actually, it helps, but it's actually a hindrance, because, like, when I do TA personally, you can't predict factors, but you can consider them and you can compile them into a variable of the TA in a way. Hence why, like, for example, TRADETIGER, like, he's seen a shit ton of my charts. Like, I do, like, high and low volatile ranges outside of the consolidation range, because that volatility shows where, like, there's the possible way, like, a very wide range, and, like, that's why you'll see, like, a $10 swing on the volatility range, but that's because there is a probability of that volatility due to organic matters coming in, and shit like you're saying there, bro. Exactly. Like, unpredictable variables, but it's because that it makes sense. It's just, it's fucking whack, but it can happen.
So just to be sure here, so the financial system is not going to be impacted that significantly as it was in 2008?
No, it's going to be 10 times worse, 5 times.
5-10.
So I think the thing is at this moment we're trying to, or not we, but I'm sure the finance industry is trying to gauge how exposed we are to Evergrande. So we knew we were in kind of a rough patch already, but I think this Evergrande thing is like we weren't ready for that. So now the question is Evergrande gonna tip over into the U.S., and if it does, how hard, and is it hard enough to tip over everything else and cause a credit crunch?
I mean,
So in that
like
scenario, how is this going to impact the?
it's like I say, I can't estimate losses because I don't know the losses. Like an earthquake, you can't estimate the earthquake until it destroys the whole city. So you can't estimate losses until that happens. But from my perspective, a magnitude of that, like of that level, you're talking about $189 trillion. The U.S.
in crypto has an influence on the actual.
Sorry. Oh my God, we've been hacked.
That's the creepiest sound I've ever heard.
You're breaking up, Christopher.
You sound like a robot.
Yeah, I just silenced. What I'm saying is, based on the magnitude we're talking about, we're talking 189 trillion losses, assuming all banks go busted, right? You're talking at least 10 times the whole national product, domestic product. It's a big external shock. I mean, it's not the whole system will collapse. It's brutal. I mean, they have let so many leeways for all these banks to get over leverage. Like I'm personally, if I was president, I will never let financial institutions getting leverage. Like that's so ridiculous. You don't let financial system getting leverage. I mean, you can do commercial loans maybe, but not financial institutions like banks. It's too dangerous.
Yeah, just to put it into perspective, I can't speak on toxic debt in terms of numbers. But in terms of derivatives, are the size of the exposure from derivatives now compared to 2008 is a joke. And then I think the scariest part is, I think the derivatives, if you add up the dollar value on it, is 4 times the globe's GDP. So it's a bunch of money that's owed that doesn't exist. And the question is how much of that comes crashing down?
Hi, Francis.
On top of toxic debt and on top of all these debt swaps and stuff. And like he was saying, no one's going to know because we don't have all the details on the bond swaps and the debt swaps
that only comes after they declare Evergrande on default, and that will be next week. On Monday, they're late on their paying for the interest rate. They have to pay interest rate on Monday, and then by the end of I don't know which day it is, but next week those bonds mature. Once those matures, they're completely declare on default. The bank is declared on default. So that's when it comes the losses. That's when they're all realize the losses.
Have we established what the debt is? Is it 300 billion or is it 600?
I don't know. I just received a link saying the 128 banks are compromised on their Evergrande and 121 non-banking institutions. So this shit is going to be COVID.
Evergrande Bank has over. Evergrande Bank's revised numbers are over $400 billion in liabilities. 400 billion.
This is going to be COVID 2.0, but in the financial system.
Wait, can you repeat that? Who said it was 400 billion?
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, right now I just received an article from Reuters saying that there are 121 banks involved and over 121 non-banking institutions.
Those are the secondary party banks. There's over 128 banks that are going to be that are at least 128 banks that are going to directly be impacted by Evergrande because they hold bonds and stock in Evergrande. 120.
Is this international?
And Citadel
banks?
has exposure, correct?
Yes, American
one of
banks.
These. I can't remember.
European
It's
banks.
HSBC
All
or
of
something,
them.
right?
Yes.
But here,
Citadel. Hold on. Citadel does have a play in this because Citadel is partial ownership of HSBC, and HSBC
that's what I meant to
has
say.
a huge stake in this. Absolutely, HSBC is the second largest holder of shares of this company.
Do you have a percentage on that, Blunts? I'm at a bar right now.
I'm
so
sorry,
I
I do not either. I'm not looking at it right now. I just know this off the top of my head because I saw it earlier today.
Bro, I'm dedicated to the DD. I'm literally drinking and I'm.
There's a slight delay in the lag from when I'm speaking than when you're seeing it in chat because you guys are seeing this live.
Dude,
So
enjoy
I'm
the
speaking
bar.
live
What are you
on
doing
both
here,
platforms
Joshua?
right
You guys
Oh
now.
my
gotta
God,
We're
your
on Twitter
girlfriend's
Space
gonna
Call,
dump you, bro.
and we are
Get off
also
your
on this.
phone.
Bro, that's awesome. Do it, bro. Stay in this call all night, bro. Drinking a booze
Oh
by
my
yourself.
God, you're giving him
We're
bad
on a Twitter Space
relationship
Call and on
advice. I
YouTube all at the
guarantee
same
his girl's
time.
like, come
Yeah, she's
dance. And
playing
he's like,
darts right now.
hold on, I gotta hear this
All
CD.
right, so
See?
that's why there's a little bit of
See?
lag, and I
Will, do you want
apologize
Oh
to
for
my
be
this.
gosh,
rich?
you're
Do you
killing me,
want to be
bro.
rich?
We're here. We're all live right
Yeah,
now.
That's
There's
what
true.
over.
That's
separates
There's
us,
true.
almost
guys. We
300
are the
people. There's
new
243
1%.
people right now on the
True
Space Call,
that.
and there's over
Maybe
300
we'll
people
become
in
like
this
the 2%.
YouTube
They'll be
right
like a new
now.
class,
And there's been people
and then
coming
it'll
and going
slowly
all
work
night.
our
We've
way
been having a
up.
great
Hey,
time. So much
we'll
information.
just be the better half
It's
of the
been
other
fucking
1%.
wonderful.
So we'll be like the second 1%. That's better.
Dude, there's
And way
so
Blunts,
cooler.
many
I know you
people.
I'm
saw
gonna mute
my
myself
thing
again
though,
so
by
it's
the
not so
way,
you
in
guys
the
can hear.
Discord. So I'm trying to figure out why do you guys think Virtue ended up going to the option chain and selling their positions in AMC, and Citadel did the complete opposite and went long with shares? I know why Citadel did it, but why do you guys think that Virtue ended up doing the complete opposite when they followed in tandem this whole time? I just want to hear anyone's thoughts.
I don't know. Maybe now it's comes down to finances, and if they're really getting stretched out financially, maybe they have to take turns now instead of doing it together to spread out the cycle. I really don't know though, because I know Citadel's the amount of shares they load up on is way heavier than Virtu.
Is it liquidity also?
Do you guys think Virtue is more likely to get a margin call? That's what I'm thinking. I also believe it's also to hide SI, short interest, of course. But I'm wondering if one of them is trying to lower SI and also avoid a margin call by playing the safer bet, which is the options chain after Citadel takes a bulk of, I guess, the margin requirements on.
That's a good theoretic. For sure.
I think one of the regulations came out is now that with options you either have to let them expire or you have to exercise them. So I thought that was supposed to take care of hiding short interest in options.
I was just looking up about Evergrande, and on Bloomberg it's saying Ashmore, a London-based money manager, holds the most debt from bonds for $400 million. Then BlackRock, then UBS, and then HSBC.
But we know BlackRock will pass the bill to Citadel through the borrow fee.
This is on Bloomberg. If anybody wants to look at the exposure they have through bonds.
Crazy.
Dude, I hope we find out if the meme stocks was BlackRock's hedge like 5 years down the road in like a report or something.
We're gonna find everything out after the fact, after we're dying for years trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
Hey, so reading this Reuters article, the Evergrande said that it requested that the funds redeemed by the 6 managers in advance be returned within a certain time frame.
Dude, I told you, China doesn't like. I don't want to speak on politically, but in terms of like laying the law down, when they take that shit so seriously.
Oh, in the next sentence, severe penalties would also be imposed, it said.
The China's government also put out a memo basically letting them know that there is no bailout. They're fucked.
Yep, there's no bailout. They're not America. They don't believe in more.
The more banks exposed to this, the better. It spreads the exposure out.
It's gonna kill the whole system, and it's gonna force a margin call on everything.
No. It's gonna.
Well, they can't bail them out because 1/4 of the GDP is based on real estate in China.
But maybe if they're all together,
absolutely. But they also have a big interest in housing in the U.S.
Yep. If there's 128 banks, hopefully they could absorb the shock together.
You know what? Here's the thing, guys. Evergrande's situation is really bad, and it's going to affect all these banks, and they probably will get bailed out by China at the last second for pennies on the dollar. But even if not, it's still going to injure the balance sheets of all these banks, and liquidity is hurting. That's why you saw massive dumps in precious metals and iron ores. That's why you saw the largest withdrawal from ETH in history. I think it was $1.2 billion worth of ETH was all withdrawn at once last night. People are selling off record high levels of blue chips and whatnot.
Remember, our catalyst
trying
was
to hedge and
the
taking out
SLR
tons
rate
of
coming
puts
up.
on the QQQ. Evergrande is still going to hurt a lot of people, regardless of whether or not the Chinese government bails them out. And you've seen what's happened to their share price so far. they're offering people to buy their apartments, or to bid to auction on their apartments instead of getting their cash back because they're hurting. They have such little liquidity. So people are bidding on these apartments, but they're already over leveraged because the Chinese people have 74.9% of their household wealth on average invested in
Hey,
real
Blunts,
estate.
do you think maybe that, so I don't know if you know, but Jane Street and Chase JP Morgan are part of the ADR, auditory deposit receipt. Do you think that possibly the Fed can step in and potentially help bail out China because they all have a link through the ADR? Because that would directly correlate and affect the bonds.
Are we in a position to be bailing out China?
Oh, we can't. We're not going to bail out China. We have nothing to do with it right there. But what do you mean
What
about
are you talking about? We print
JP
money.
Morgan does use ADR. All these banks use American Depository Receipts and receipts like this overseas, and this is how they create synthetic shares. Whether we like to admit it or not, and the cost to borrow on these ETFs and receipts is much cheaper than borrowing directly. So that's how they're able to keep things moving. But what about that? Are you questioning about JP Morgan? That's my question here. Because they're definitely involved in using them like any of these players.
I think he was asking if they would go through JP Morgan's ADR system or whatever market to bail out China to stop it from coming back and knocking into us.
No, absolutely not. There's nothing we can do about that shit. We got no interest and no liquidity to be able to do anything like that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because I was going to say, the banks are already struggling. Isn't the new SLR requirements coming up in October?
October 1st, $1 trillion per bank stress test had been occurring, but since the Federal Reserve
And I dropped out because my other mic died. My phone died.
August, so
my bad. I'll jump back in that call.
Oh, shit, I'm
In
down.
a minute here. I'll let you guys listen to them.
Sorry, I was in the restroom for that portion right there. I didn't want the music to affect it. But yeah, just because I think because of liquidity, the derivatives report that came out, JP Morgan's the most exposed, and they became the official exchange of Beijing in China. And so those bonds are interchangeable essentially between the bank. Sorry, I got to go actually. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. I got to dip.
Yeah,
Okay.
man. I thought you were
hardcore.
you were getting drunk.
But yeah, so with the SLR rate coming up, right? I think these banks are already under a lot of pressure. Then throw in the debt ceiling situation, and and this Evergrande thing just came out of nowhere. So they're already struggling with a lot of shit over here financially, and that Evergrande exposure tipping over into the States is the last thing they want.
Fucking everything's over leveraged right now, man. It's all fucked.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it simple. Everything's fucked right now.
Let's just go back to seashells.
In all fairness, just everything's fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think I'm gonna close this today.
This is not financial advice to anybody. I'm just gonna let you know what my view on this thing is from 2008. Watching it unfold on TV, watching Ford drop down to sub $10, sub $5 levels, and watching all these stocks drop down, not realizing the upside potential by jumping in until thereafter. That's one thing I'll be looking at, and just let you know of Truth in Lending. Once I realized this whole 2008 thing and seeing how the stocks recovered, they called me Mr. Gloom and Doom. I invested in a couple of stocks after the Fukushima power plant explosion and the earthquake, watching things tank. People got scared, jumped in, made a whole bunch of money going back on up. Same thing with BP, oil spill down there in the Gulf, jumped into BP once they started tanking and rolled it back on up. It's still holding. So I look for those little things that drive those stock prices down. And if this thing is going to be as bad as it's looking, that's going to be a good expedition for anybody to jump into and ride the thing back on up.
Yeah. I guess I'll layer on that. There'll be an initial crash usually, and then a relief bounce. So just don't get excited on the first dip. Kind of wait a little bit for everything to pan out.
Yes, you've got to time it out. There's going to be tremors. Like I said, that's just my investment strategy based on the 2008
you guys
experience.
see this shit?
Watching those dips, watching things settled out. Should have jumped in then, did, but I learned that lesson from 2008.
Listen, do you see what the fuck's going on here?
Crazy
the United States Treasury spent a shitload of millions of dollars, billions of dollars actually, about $27 billion in one day. The United States Treasury sold mortgage-backed securities yesterday. I'm sorry, on Wednesday, September 15th, 2021, the United States Treasury received tax revenue and sold mortgage-backed securities and junk bonds. Okay? And they sold about $120 billion worth. And it increased their balance sheet to $344 billion. Because this is expressed in millions of dollars, so etc. So today, they closed the day out with just under $318 billion. And the United States Treasury has less money than it did the last time around, and Janet Yellen's thinking we can run out of money in October. And I'm thinking it possibly could happen in September. Because SIBO's estimates last time around were that she would have enough to last into November, but they ran out on October 17th. This time, we have a lot less money, and the government's spending a lot more money. On average, in July and August, the United States Treasury spent about $501 billion per month. It is September. It's about to be September 18th here, 2021, and the government only has less than $318 billion left in the bank. And we're facing a potential government shutdown on October 1st, 2021, 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Holy shit. You guys see what happened the last time we had this shit go on? Check this out. In 2013, the United States Department of the Treasury completed this analysis called the Potential Macroeconomic Impact of Debt Ceiling Brinkmanship. And it states that the S&P 500, the SPY, the SPX, fell about 17% in the 2011 during the debt ceiling crisis. And it did not recover to its average over the first half of the year until 2012. Until half of 2012. That's fucking terrible. I don't know. I think AMC and GameStop are going to go up instead of down with the market, Javier, because they're so heavily shorted that when all the other blue chips value goes down, the shorts are going to they're going to be forced to liquidate some of their assets, which is going to reduce those things in value, and they're going to have to buy back some shares of AMC and GameStop simply in order to meet their margin positions to bring themselves back within their margin requirements. So this is what causes gamma squeezes, and this is what causes larger squeezes and small hedge funds to go out of business, and then larger hedge funds to get liquidated and margin called, and then default on that margin call sometimes. And then if that happens, they become liquidated as well. That creates further sell-offs of blue chip stocks, assets, and everything else. The reason you're seeing the crypto manipulation is because they use it at night and on the weekends, because it's a 24-hour dumpster fire casino behind a Wendy's. That's all it is. So they use and abuse the crypto market as much as they can. You know, roughly half a U.S. household owns stock directly or indirectly through mutual funds or 401ks. All right, this is the shit that hurts people that don't see this coming or that refuse to fucking believe it. You know, between the second and third quarter of 2011, household wealth fell $2.4 trillion. And you know what? America, in the second quarter of 2021, we already lost 51% of our savings and investments as Americans, to the tune of $2.1 trillion reduction. And now Americans, instead of having $4.07 trillion like they did in the first quarter of 2021, we now, as of the second quarter of 2021, the Bureau of Economic Analysis states that Americans have $1.97 trillion in their bank accounts and savings accounts and investment accounts. So we already seen a reduction almost this large just based off the numbers from inflation and a lack of economic activity, a lack of real economic GDP growth, and a lack of employable workers. Supply chain issues around, all around the board, and then wars in Afghanistan and COVID. This is what happened in 2011 to the SPY, to the S&P. This is what happened to the VIX. The volatility index runs inverse to the market. The volatility index runs kind of like AMC and GME, in my opinion. Fuck. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. I'm having a great night, everybody. I hope you are as well. So, when I try to tell you just to be careful, it's only because you need to be aware of what the government has literally told us in the past. This is a report they put out in 2013 analyzing what happened in 2011 during the debt ceiling crisis. And then in 2013, a couple months after this was published, we had another debt ceiling crisis. But that's why they made this, because they knew it was going to happen. So they made this to try to keep it from happening again, and they couldn't because they're corrupt fucks. What else? Refinancing does not improve cash flow as much, which restrains consumption spending. In 2011, 30-year fixed-rate mortgages jumped 70 basis points. It lasted into 2012. Okay? That would increase monthly payments by about $100 a month. Back then, not accounting for inflation nowadays. Fuck. Real GDP expanded nothing, 1.8% annual rate in the first half of 2013. That's fucking garbage. That's negative. So when you see things like that in these clear as day, it should give you an indication of what the fuck state of our economy is in, because it's in a lot worse shape now than it ever was then. And I've showed you guys that time and time again. And you can see how much money our fucking treasury's got. $317 billion to last us till they agree on the debt ceiling crisis. Meanwhile, we've got an economic meltdown and sell-off of bonds in Asia through Evergrande Bank and Hong Kong. And then we've got Euro bonds, Euro junk bonds in Europe going negative for the first time in history. Holy shit. This is the crap that we're facing. And here they say 300 billion, but it's kind of, I think it's been revised to almost 400 billion because they owe 130. Well, I'm sorry, hold on, let me think. 1.3. I'm sorry, $130 billion in homes that have not been built yet to people that have already paid, or at least placed down payments, if you know what I mean. They started the process and they haven't delivered anything yet. This developer, Evergrande. So their value tumbled by 20%. They're trading at 31 cents, 31 American cents is what they were trading on yesterday. I think they're at 35 or 36 cents now. So they owe two banks big money, at least. And those bonds those futures in those bonds here are maturing here shortly, I believe. But anyway, we don't have to get into that. We've had about enough, I think. I don't think this is necessary for us to, go into any further detail on the state of our economy, because we've seen it's pretty fucked up, right? So I'm sorry to say, we're kind of looking at the exact same situation. I will leave you with this. Let's go back to that Reddit post. When I wrote this thing, bonds were at 3-month bonds were at 0.06, and today they're at 0.04%. This was in late August, August 1st. And the 10-year Treasury note was at 1.24%. Back in 2011, they estimated that the 10-year Treasury note would be worth 5.4, and that the 3-month Treasury note would be worth 4.4. What, 0.04? Not even fucking close. You know, oh great, we made a little back. You know, 1.36, probably because of Evergrande's bonds tanking a little bit. But that's good. That's a good sign. I hope they can, keep that kind of going here. As you can see here, personal expenses for Americans in the second quarter increased $681 billion. And in the first quarter, they had increased $540 billion more. So, aside from that, I told you about Americans losing over $2 trillion in the second quarter of their personal savings, and the personal savings rate, the amount of money they're actually able to put away, in the second quarter was down almost 11%. And that was already down 21% almost in the first quarter. This is what we're seeing. The PCI for gross domestic purchases was 5.7% in the second quarter and 3.9% in the first quarter. And now we see month over month inflation rates of around 5.8% for 3 months in a row, and 4.2% prior to that. So we're past 2008 levels already on inflationary rates, and they changed the way that they calculated inflation to take out used cars, because used cars has an inflation rate of 47%. So obviously when they substitute in there for something like energy and food, which has a much lower, around 8 to 26% rate, it brings down the actual inflation rate numbers, and they're going to revise them again January of 2022. Fun times. Fun fucking times we're living in, right? So yeah, that's about it, guys. If you guys have any questions for me, you can throw them in the chat. I'll answer a couple before we call it a night here, because it's starting to get kind of late. I've had a great time, on the SpaceCall with everybody, and talking to you guys all in chat, and seeing your discussion. I've been reading along at all your chats. I'm sorry if I didn't get a chance to respond to you directly. Please drop a like if you don't mind. If you subscribe if you want, if you like the content. Thanks for watching, everybody. And good luck on your investments. I'll say that much. Congress is going to be on vacation until September 20th. Look at that. On Monday, this Monday. People say they don't like fucking dates. Fuck that. I love giving dates. I give dates all the time because dates are important. I don't care what you say. And I can make a prediction and it may or may not happen, but that's okay because we're just fucking discussing the possibilities. If it happens or not, we'll see. Nobody can see the future. No matter as much as they like to be. So many shills out there, people are like, oh, I told you so. You said this was going to happen. You said that. Great. I'm glad our economy didn't fucking collapse. I don't want to be right on this situation here. But all these white dates that we had here, and even these red dates, Congress was on vacation. So they go back to work. Congress starts working again September 20th, Monday. And then we're going to have a great old time figuring out what the fuck they're going to do. Regarding a possible government shutdown on October 1st. All but 3 Democrats would have to agree in order for the bipartisan agreement to actually work out. It would be, they have a $3.5 trillion spending package that they need to discuss. GDP, Republicans have stated many times that they're not going to fucking stop and just agree to everything that they want to pass on the $3.5 trillion bill, on the infrastructure bill, which is separate from that, because they made them, the Republicans fought with the Democrats to separate it into 2 separate bills instead of just one, because they were trying to package it all together. We've got an eviction moratorium crisis. $46 billion in rent relief was allocated, but only, this was back in August 3rd, but now about $7 or $8 billion has been sent out, and they still owe a lot more. They don't have any money to pay it with. These landlords and tenants and have not gotten it. I'm sure maybe some of you have, or your neighbors or your family or friends, and maybe you haven't gotten it. I know a lot of people haven't gotten their Social Security. Some people were telling me they didn't get their Social Security. I'm sorry. I hope you do get it. I hope everybody gets it. Truly, I do. So, you know, the 2015, there was another one, a 2015 report. I showed you guys a report from 2013 that was analyzing the 2011 debt ceiling. And this is another report from the Government Accountability Office that was made in 2015, analyzing the 2013 debt ceiling standoff between Obama and lawmakers. And investors reported taking the unprecedented action of systematically avoiding certain Treasury securities. That's 3-month bonds, 10-year Treasury bonds, 6-month, 1 year, 2 year, whatever, 5 year, whatever time length you want, all of them. The only one they're using is the reverse fucking repo. And why are they using the reverse repurchase? Because they need to maintain liquidity and they don't have the faith in these bonds for 3 months to put their money into it. Sorry, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And how can I just not remember where the hell I was getting it from? I thought it was Edgar. Fred, what the hell am I thinking? I don't know, I just remembered it all. Sorry about that. Three-month Treasury bill. Look at it in 2020. Negative 0.04. Okay? And that was before then, it was at 1.53, 1.54%. It's currently at 0.04 as of Thursday, September 16th, 2021, the most recent available data from the Economic Research and Development from the Federal Reserve. What do you think is going to happen the next time that we have a debt ceiling crisis? That shit's going to fucking go way negative. So why would they put their money in it? They need to maintain the liquidity on hand, and they cannot lose all of it at once. If they lose a lot in the 3 months and they tie it up and they're not able to withdraw it, then they're going to be margin called, and then they're going to default on the margin call, because margin calls happen all the time. Except people don't realize that it's not public data. They don't come out and say, "Hey guys," Gary Gensler from the SEC doesn't come out and say, "Hey, what's up? Yeah, we just margin called, J.P. Morgan or Citadel or whatever fucking shitty hedge fund out there, market maker, bank." They don't do that unless they default, and in which case they go in and then start to liquidate for them. And then we might hear about it because we'll see the fucking news trucks out front when the FBI and the SEC is raiding into the doors, if needed. Friday, September 17th, an all-time world record RRP reverse repurchase agreement, maximum limit with 78 counterparties. 78 counterparties. Also a record high. They need this money more than ever, and they cannot put it in these bonds because they know the stock market and these bonds are going to crash. Okay. They are designed to temporarily add or drain reserves available to the banking system and influence day-to-day trading in the federal funds market. They're literally meant to allow them to manipulate markets. And that's all they're fucking doing. That ceiling crisis will pop that fucking bubble like that, in my opinion. At first, slowly with hedge funds and banks, and then you're going to see shorted stocks like AMC and GameStop go to the fucking, very, very high numbers. And then after a little while after that, if maybe a few days, maybe a week or two after that, you're going to see absolutely astronomical numbers, in my opinion. Because that's when the prime brokers and the banks and the market makers will get margin called, because that will take time as well. Because margin calls aren't instantaneous. They do take, sometimes 3 days to see the effects of one. So that's all I got for you. Peace and love, peace and wealth, everybody. Thank you very much. That's the best I can do to explain the reverse repurchase. It's basically, somebody asked here, it's used and designed to take money out of the market and have the Federal Reserve burn it up to prevent inflation and hyperinflation, because they've been artificially printing so much goddamn money that, and when you combine that with supply chain issues, thank you very much, Diamond Hand. When you combine that with all the supply chain issues and employee shortages, and sick people that are out with COVID and unwilling to do certain jobs for certain prices, and getting paid by the government to stay at home, It causes supply chain issues. That's why your grocery stores aren't fucking fully packed like they used to. That's why your retail stores are not fully packed like they used to. That's why Burger Kings, McDonald's, and all these other fast food places are lacking workers and short on hours. You're going to see it all the fucking time. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. Diamond Hand Yam says, accountability keyword. Scum guzzling gutter sleuths. We don't like them. We like the stock. We let it rain bananas. 420,069 floor. All right, cool, man. I like that price. That's a pretty cool share price. I'll take it if it happens. I'd be so fucking happy. That'd be great. So that's it. You guys have a great night. Appreciate you hanging out with me, and enjoy your weekend. Monday should be beautiful. Peace and wealth. See you, Space Cowboy.